Tristan is the only male heir in 3 generations. When his grandfather discovered I had the potential to bear sextuplets, he offered a sky-high bride price to bring me into their family. But on the eve of our wedding, I caught my fiancé with my twin sister. In my past life, I stormed in to confront them. My sister jumped from the building, and I was blamed for her death. I died tragically on the operating table after giving birth. My husband said I got what I deserved for being so vicious. Reborn and back, I stared at those 2 disgusting insects lying in bed. He said, "It's your sister I love. You're just a tool." Fine, this tool is done being used. Since you love each other so much, I hope you stay locked together forever, and end your bloodline. Cold, bitterly cold. The surgical lights above the operating table were colder than ice, brighter than hell. I had just given birth to 6 children. 6. The 6 heirs old man Tristan had been obsessing over. My stomach is empty. And I'm almost drained of blood. There stood Tristan, my husband in name only. He didn't look at me, nor at the child. He was staring at the empty hospital bed next to mine. That bed was reserved for Serena, my twin sister. "Irene, are you happy now?" Tristan's voice grated like a knife scraping against my bones. "What 6 embryo gene nonsense? You're just a status-obsessed fraud. You knew perfectly well I loved Serena, yet you still plotted against her. Just a little more time and Serena would have borne my heir. You're the one who drove her to jump. You turned her into a vegetable." My lips parted, but no sound came out. Blood gushed from my mouth. "Effort? Is that what you call what happened in my marriage bed, the night before the wedding? You two were caught in the act by everyone." She jumped to her death out of shame and anger. "What's that got to do with me? So what if you had 6 kids? Tristan's face contorted into a ghastly grimace. "When Serena wakes up, our family of 8 will be reunited. As for you, go straight to hell." With a wave of his hand, the doctor had all the tubes removed from my body. So cold, hot, a damp, fishy, nauseating heat. The air was thick with the pungent mix of perfume and sweat. The room echoed with women's shrieks and men's ragged breaths. So familiar, all too familiar. This was the master bedroom of my marital home in Shanghai. I lay on the sofa, a thin blanket draped over me, not far away. On the wedding bed I had so carefully chosen with its bright red matrimonial quilt, 2 pale figures were entwined. Tristan, Serena, this scene again, the night before the wedding. In my past life, I barged in like a fool, screaming and crying. I called my parents, I called Tristan's relatives. Humiliated by the stares of the crowd, Serena leaped from the window in a fit of rage. She survived the fall but was left in a vegetative state. Tristan despises me, my parents blame me. They kept asking why I wouldn't just let my sister have the wedding, whether I stepped aside or stood my ground. What difference would it even make? To the Tristans, I'm just a breeding vessel they handpicked. It all started with a routine checkup. "Old Mr. Tristan discovered I carry the rare genetic marker for sextuplets." The Tristan family, Shanghai's top financial dynasty, possessed wealth rivaling nations, yet plagued by genetic defects through 3 generations of single heirs. Their lineage as sparse as desert grasses. They needed fertile women. They needed me. The family patriarch came to my home with a sky-high betrothal gift. My parents were completely starstruck and basically sold me off. Serena was burning with jealousy. She looks just like me, so why was I the one marrying into wealth? So she set her sights on Tristan. That fool Tristan thinks he's in love with Serena. But all he really cares about is money, power, and a womb to bear him sons. I slowly sat up. My body felt light, none of the heaviness of pregnancy, nor the sharp pain after surgery. The rustling on the bed grew louder. "I died." Serena's voice dripped with saccharine sweetness. "Tristan, are you really going to marry my sister?" When I opened my eyes again, "Don't mention that dreary woman, darling." Tristan's voice was hoarse. "She's just a pawn. The old man only wants her for breeding. It's you I love. Then marry me, Serena. Don't rush. Once she gives birth, I'll have a plan." How utterly touching. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. In my past life, I ruined their reputations completely, but in doing so, I dragged myself down into hell. Serena became the unattainable beauty in Tristan's heart, an eternal ache, and I became that venomous woman who harmed her own sister and stole her brother-in-law. I'm not playing this game again in this lifetime. I'll make sure you two are never parted. Tie them up tight, bind them until your bones rot together into a putrid mass. I picked up my phone and started recording audio, then I switched to video recording, high definition. 4K, the room was unlit, but the moonlight streaming through the window was bright enough. I could clearly see Serena coiled around Tristan like a snake. Tristan was drenched in sweat, like a plow horse. I recorded quietly. I recorded for a full 5 minutes. They're so full of energy. Then, I composed a text message. Sent to my dad, my mom, Tristan's grandfather, Tristan's parents, and all the important guests attending the wedding tomorrow. Surprise in the bridal suite. Come quickly, Irene. I slipped my phone back into the couch cushions. I stood up and walked over to the liquor cabinet. I opened the most expensive bottle of red wine, a 1982 Lafite. No, that's too cliché. Let's have a bottle of Romani Conti. I poured myself a full glass, gently swaying. I caught the scent of rotting grapes. Footsteps approached, a crowd of people, chaotic and hurried. Filled with anger and confusion, my parents were leading the charge. The thud of Tristan's grandfather's cane echoed through the floorboards. Irene, what on earth are you doing? My father growled under his breath. Without turning around, I took a sip of my drink, so sour, it was my mom's scream. Then came the thud of something heavy hitting the floor. Sounded like someone had fainted. You bastard. Old man Tristan's roar was so fierce it made the crystal chandelier shake. I turned and leaned against the liquor cabinet, watching them with a faint smile. The bedroom door stood wide open, every light was blazing, dozens of pairs of eyes were fixed intently on the bright red marriage bed. Tristan and Serena stood petrified like monkeys pinned to the pillory, their faces contorted in sheer terror. Serena shrieked and scrambled to pull the covers over herself. It wasn't me, Irene seduced me. She babbled incoherently. Tristan turned deathly pale, his lips trembling as he stammered, Dad, grandfather, please let me explain. Screw your excuses. Old man Tristan's beard quivered with rage. His health was failing, and he was only staying alive through medication in the hope of holding a grandchild. He slammed his cane against the doorframe. You've brought shame upon the Tristan family name. My parents rushed forward, shielding Serena. Serena, you foolish child. How could you do such a thing? My mother wailed hysterically. Her tears weren't for Serena's shamelessness, but for the impending collapse of this wealthy marriage. I walked over slowly. This bride, who'd been cheated on and should have been furious. A perfect, Madonna-like smile graced my face. Mom, Dad, Grandpa, I murmured, my voice as soft as a feather brushing against their hearts. Don't blame them. I walked over to the bedside and looked at Serena, who was trembling. Her face, identical to mine, was now filled with fear and calculation. She's figuring out how to escape and pin the blame on me. In her past life, she jumped off a building. This time around, you think you can jump? Not a chance. I gently pulled up the blanket to cover Serena's shoulders. Truly wonderful. Serena, are you cold? Serena froze. Tristan was stunned too, sis. Serena's eyes welled up with tears as she prepared to put on her act. I know you two are truly in love. I turned to Tristan. You've been wanting to tell me for a while, haven't you? You were just worried about hurting my feelings. Tristan's jaw dropped, completely speechless. You've both been hiding this for my sake, sacrificing your own happiness, even going so far as to, on my wedding bed. I paused. Share their affections. How touching. I pressed a hand to my chest, eyes glistening with unshed tears, looking utterly moved. Old man Tristan was so furious he looked ready to have a stroke. Irene, have you lost your mind? I spun around and faced the old man directly. Grandpa, I'm willing to let them have their way. The air froze. What? My father shrieked. I said, I'm willing to give up Tristan, and this wedding, to my sister Serena. My words rang out with conviction, each syllable driving like a nail into their collective coffin. Sis, Serena's eyes lit up, but she quickly feigned remorse. No, how could we possibly? It's all right, I said gently, taking her hand. You two love each other so deeply. How could I bear to stand in your way? But the sextuplet Jean, the butler of the Tristan family patriarch, grew anxious. The Tristans aren't looking for a daughter-in-law. They want a womb that can pop out 6 babies. I laughed, a brilliantly radiant laugh. Uncle Butler, have you forgotten? Serena and I are identical twins. I gently patted Serena's stomach. What the older sister has, the younger sister naturally has too. Serena's face flushed a deep crimson, flushed with excitement. Tristan's expression shifted, his face now contorted with greed. The old man of the Tristan family froze. Then his eyes lit up with ecstatic joy. Yes, yes, identical twins. Their genes are the same, exactly the same. The old man was so excited he threw his cane aside. Excellent. Well done, Irene, you truly understand what's at stake. My parents finally caught on. No matter which daughter married into that family, they become in-laws with the chaebol. Not enough. Yes, yes, Irene has always been so sensible and absolutely dotes on her little sister. My mother instantly switched her tune. I stared at the two-timing couple in the bed. Tristan breathed a sigh of relief. He'd not only won the woman he loved, or so he thought, but also secured his position as the heir. Serena was so smug she could barely contain her laughter. In that case, I raised my voice. The wedding will proceed as scheduled tomorrow. The bride will be replaced by Serena. I looked at Serena with a smile as warm as a doting sister's. Congratulations, little sister. You finally got what you wanted. May you and Tristan grow old together, never to part. Never to part. In hell, the wedding preparations were completely overhauled overnight. My face was hastily photoshopped out of the wedding photos and replaced with Serena's. With no time to reprint the invitations, Tristan's family bought out the front page of Shanghai's largest newspaper to announce the bride's name change. Elder sister Irene fell gravely ill, but to keep the auspicious timing, younger sister Serena will take her place in marriage, a testament to their profound sisterly bond that moves heaven and earth. I was reading the newspaper and nearly spat out my bird's nest breakfast. How touching. Yeah, I was so moved I wanted to stuff them back into the womb. I became that, suddenly fallen ill, poor soul, staying in another villa arranged by Tristan's family. They called it a recuperation period. In reality, it was house arrest. The Tristans were afraid I'd have second thoughts. Worried I might go out and spill the beans, but why would I ever reconsider? I'm the mastermind behind this whole spectacle. The wedding day was an unprecedented extravaganza. Every prominent figure in Shanghai was in attendance. To counter bad luck and cover up last night's scandal, the Tristan family made the wedding 10 times more lavish than originally planned. I didn't go to the venue. I sat in the villa's living room, watching the massive projection screen. This was the live broadcast, specially arranged for me by Tristan's butler. He probably thought I must be heartbroken and wanted me to see clearly what I had lost. On the screen, Serena wore the wedding gown I personally selected, adorned with South African diamonds. The dress was so beautiful, it made her look like a princess. If only you could ignore the unmistakable greed and smugness in her eyes. Tristan was dressed in a white tuxedo, looking every bit the part. He gazed at Serena with a hazy look in his eyes. Mistaking it for affection, the officiant recited the nauseatingly saccharine vows. Miss Serena, do you take Mr. Tristan to be your husband, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health? I do, Serena blurted out, her voice so loud it seemed she feared no one would hear. Mr. Tristan, do you take Miss Serena to be your wife? Tristan hesitated for a moment. Perhaps in that instant, memories of last night's madness flashed through his mind. Along with the image of old Mr. Tristan's cane, yet he still said, I do. They exchanged rings and sealed their vows with a kiss. The room erupted in thunderous applause. I clapped harder than anyone. Congratulations. I toasted to the screen. The servants attending to me in the villa all looked at me strangely, as if I were a madwoman. They probably thought I had gone insane with rage. And indeed, I was mad. The thought of the life that awaited them drove me wild with joy. After the wedding, Tristan's father paid me a personal visit. He was beaming, looking 10 years younger. Irene, you've been wronged, the old man said insincerely, sitting across from me. Ah, not at all, grandfather. I'm happy to have helped my sister and Tristan fulfill their true love. I kept my eyes downcast, playing the part of the perfect victim. Don't worry, the Tristan family will treat you well. The old man handed me a check. I glanced at it. A string of zeros. 100 million. This is both hush money and compensation. More importantly, it's the seed funding for my next phase of the plan. Thank you, grandfather, I said, accepting the check with poised grace. There's one more thing. The old man coughed, finally showing his true colors. Even though Serena married into their family, you two are still twins after all. About this, the matter of the sextuplet gene. The Tristans never wanted a daughter-in-law. What they wanted was a womb that could reliably produce high-quality heirs. Although Serena married into the family, the Tristans aren't entirely at ease. What do you mean, grandfather? I pretended not to understand. The Tristan family has a history of low fertility due to genetic issues. The old man stated bluntly, your genetic makeup is far too valuable. while Serena and Tristan are the ones getting married now. If by any chance, he didn't finish the sentence, but I understood perfectly. If Serena can't conceive, or fails to produce 6 children, they still have me as their backup plan. Don't worry, grandfather, I said with a smile, delivering the line I had prepared long in advance. I'm willing to join my sister in continuing the Tristan family line. The old man's eyes lit up. What do you mean? Serena and I are identical twins. We share the exact same genes. If my sister can't conceive in the near future, or if the Tristan family needs a more secure guarantee, I paused, looked the old gentleman in the eye, and spoke the words that would sway him most. I'm willing to undergo artificial insemination to preserve this precious genetic lineage for the Tristan family. Yes, yes, yes. The old man rose to his feet, overcome with emotion. Irene, you're truly the blessing of our Tristan family. In his eyes, I'm probably just a walking womb, and a 2-for-1 deal at that. Now he has 2 options. Double the insurance. He thinks he's hit the jackpot. I gazed at his weathered face with a gentle smile. Identical twins share the same genes, but that sextuplet gene, on my medical report, that's a cheat code I begged for in the underworld after my previous life ended. Serena, she's got nothing. Forget 6. She can't even manage 1, because yesterday, when I was tucking her in, I casually sprinkled something on her. It was an ancient formula I discovered after being reborn, using memories from my past life. Everyone turned to look at me, odorless, tasteless, and activates upon contact. The effect, lifelong infertility. But Grandpa, I have one condition, I continued. Name it, I'll agree to anything. The old man was in high spirits. I'd like to keep this between us for now, especially from my sister. She just got married, and I don't want her to feel pressured. You know how it is with pregnancy. The more stress, the harder it is to conceive. I put on a caring expression. Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. The old man nodded vigorously. Additionally, the Tristan family must sign an addendum to the prenuptial agreement with my sister. Everyone was stunned. I pulled out a document from under the coffee table. The old man took it, his expression shifting slightly. The terms were simple, but devastating. Regardless of whether Serena can bear children in the future, and regardless of how many, Tristan is forbidden from divorcing her for life. If Tristan initiates divorce, he must leave with nothing and transfer half of the Tristan family's assets to Serena. This is far too harsh. The old man frowned. Grandfather, I sighed. So many people witnessed what happened last night. While the newspapers claim it was a proxy marriage for her sister, anyone with half a brain knows the truth. Serena sacrificed her reputation to marry Tristan, a young woman's entire future, ruined in one fell swoop. If Tristan's family won't provide her with security, what becomes of her should his affections ever waver? Moreover, I emphasized, this is to ensure Serena can focus on preparing for pregnancy. Only with proper security can she happily carry Tristan's 6 heirs to term. Sextuplets. Those 3 words were the old man of the Tristan family's Achilles heel. For the sake of those 3 words, he was willing to do anything. He weighed the pros and cons. On one side was a check for $100 million and my surrogate womb. On the other was binding his son to one woman for life. But in his view, that woman also possessed the sextuplet gene. Fine, I'll sign, the old man said through gritted teeth. Not only did he sign it himself, he immediately called his lawyer and had Tristan summoned. When Tristan arrived, he looked thoroughly annoyed. He had just experienced the most triumphant day of his life and was about to consummate his marriage with his true love. Sign it, the old man said, tossing the agreement to him. Tristan glanced at it, his face turning pale. Grandpa, this is impossible. Why would I sign this? For your 6 future sons, the old man roared. I cut her off. For the future of the Tristan family. Tristan froze. He looked at me. I gave him a gentle smile. Tristan, this is for Serena's own good, I said softly. Giving her this security will put her mind at ease. If your love is real, what difference does signing make? It's not like you're planning to divorce her, are you? I emphasized the word true love with particular intensity. Tristan recalled last night's passion, remembering Serena's allure in bed. He was completely swept away by his hormones. Fine, I'll sign. I'll never be parted from Serena. With a flourish of his pen, he signed away his freedom. As I looked at the agreement, a weight lifted from my chest. That scumbag and that tramp deserve each other. May they never part. Your wedding night, enjoy it while it lasts. Savor your gilded cage. a life of endless pressure with no future and no hope. I drained the glass of red wine. This time, there's no bitterness, it's cloyingly sweet. I got the money, along with the promise of freedom from Tristan's father. I left Shanghai. As the plane soared into the clouds, I watched the city shrink beneath my feet. All those passions and grudges, the blood and tears, seemed to have been left behind there. I went to Xiamen, a warm coastal city. I used that 100 million to buy a beachfront villa and invested the rest. In my past life, I was forced to learn all sorts of high society etiquette and financial knowledge. Never thought it would come in handy now. I wake up naturally every day, take walks on the beach, and enjoy fresh seafood. Life is as calm as a still mirror, but I know that beneath the surface, turbulent undercurrents are raging. The real drama is unfolding over in Shanghai, for Tristan and Serena. The newlywed bliss was even more fleeting than a night blooming serious. They were inseparable that first week, holed up in their room all day long. Serena couldn't wait to flaunt her lavish lifestyle on social media, the pigeon egg-sized diamond ring, countless luxury handbags, and Tristan's insincere, lovesick expression. By the second week, the patriarch of Tristan's family started pressing them. How's the physical conditioning going, Serena? We've enlisted the finest traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. In the third week, Tristan's family mansion was filled with all sorts of folk remedies for conception. Serena had to drink 3 large bowls of dark, bitter herbal concoctions every day. So revoltingly bitter that it made her want to vomit. She complained to Tristan about it, at first. Tristan tried to comfort her. Eventually, he grew weary of it himself. Are you even capable of this? Tristan's impatience began to show. Did he marry her for love? No, he married her for what his grandfather called the sextuplet gene. Serena protested indignantly. How was I supposed to know? It's not like I can just decide to have a baby on my own. Your sister has that gene, so you must have it too. Are you just not trying hard enough? Trying hard. They're trying hard every single night. So hard that Serena's legs turn to jelly whenever she sees Tristan. This isn't enjoyment, it's pure torment. The life of a wealthy socialite was nothing like she'd imagined. She couldn't go shopping freely, had to learn etiquette daily, attend to her in-laws, and most importantly, focus on preparing for pregnancy. Her womb had become the entire family's obsession, more important than the stock market index. A month had passed. Serena got her period right on schedule. The old man at Tristan's place had a face as dark as a thundercloud. 2 months had passed. Still no movement. The atmosphere at Tristan's house grew tense. My parents were getting anxious too. They called me and beat around the bush. Irene, are you doing well in Xiamen? My mom asked with feigned concern. That's good. Your sister has been under a lot of pressure lately. Tristan's family has been pushing them. Oh, really? Then she should try to relax. Tell me. Is there some secret to having those sextuplet genes? Share it with your mother, and I'll have your sister give it a try too. Mom, there's no secret at all. Maybe it's just not the right time for sister yet. I hung up the phone feeling completely at ease. In the 3rd month, Tristan's family brought in the most renowned fertility specialist to conduct comprehensive examinations for both Serena and Tristan. On the day the test results came out, I received a video from the private investigator I had hired. All hell broke loose at the Tristan family mansion. The Tristan family patriarch slammed the report in Serena's face. You're useless. You can't even bear a child. The report indicates Serena has severe fallopian tube blockage along with premature ovarian failure, making her chances of conception virtually non-existent. As for Tristan, he's no better off. His sperm motility is critically low. Consistent with the genetic defects characteristic of his family line, no wonder the Tristan family is desperate to find a woman with high fertility. With Tristan's pathetic physical condition, most women wouldn't be able to get pregnant by him. Only someone with a genetically modified constitution like mine from the previous life could possibly carry 6 children. Impossible. I'm perfectly healthy. Serena shrieked. She couldn't comprehend how she'd suddenly become infertile. Of course she couldn't understand. The powder I sprinkled on her was specially formulated for her constitution. It won't make her sick. It'll just make her completely barren. You lied to me, Tristan snapped, his hand flying to Serena's throat. You don't have the sextuplet gene at all. You and your sister set me up. It wasn't me. It was my sister. She said we have the same genes, Serena cried, shifting the blame onto me. Old mister, Tristan was so furious he fainted on the spot. The Tristan household was in complete chaos. Reason, I watched the video while snacking on freshly air-shipped cherries. So sweet. Tristan loathed Serena. He felt utterly played. He lost the woman who could bear him 6 children, only to end up with a barren waste. And thanks to that damn agreement, he can't get a divorce. If he divorces, he'll be left with nothing and have to split half his assets. Half of the Tristan family's wealth is an astronomical sum. Serena also despises Tristan with every fiber of her being. What happened to the true love we were promised? Now that he's discovered she can't bear children, he's completely turned his back on her. Her dream of marrying into wealth lies in shattered pieces. Locked in that gilded cage, they began tearing each other apart. Tristan started staying out all night. He began seeing other women, all sorts of women. He said, "Since my wife can't bear children, I'll find someone who can." Serena went into a rage at home. She smashed things and yelled at the servants. She also thought about going out to find a man, but she didn't dare. She was afraid the Tristan family would catch her in a compromising situation. While they couldn't get a divorce, there were plenty of ways to make her life a living hell. She started frantically calling me. "Irene, was it you? Did you make me infertile? Sister, what are you talking about?" "I don't understand," I said innocently. "Stop pretending. You're jealous I married Tristan. You drugged me. Sister, do you have any proof?" I chuckled. "You can eat carelessly, but you can't speak carelessly. You're the young mistress of the Tristan family now. You should mind your status. You vile creature, I'll make you pay for this." The more vicious her insults grew, the more it delighted me. In my past life, I lay bedridden without even the strength to curse. Now, it's her turn to rage in helpless fury. Tristan called me too. His voice was thick with regret and pleading. "Irene, I was wrong. It's you I truly love." I felt so sick I nearly threw up. "I know you're the one with the genetic predisposition for sextuplets. Come back, Irene, let's send Serena away and start over. I'll find a way to divorce her." "Find a way?" I scoffed. "Did you forget the agreement you signed, Mr. Tristan, leaving with nothing, half your assets?" Tristan fell silent. "Does he love me?" "No, he loves my womb more than me. And his money most of all." "Irene, I'm begging you, the Tristan family must have an heir. If you'll come back and bear my child, I could make you my mistress." "A mistress? What does he take me for? Last life I was a breeding machine, and now he wants me to be his dirty little secret. Weren't you two lovebirds supposed to be inseparable, idiot? Then just sit back and enjoy." The Tristan family mansion had turned into a living hell. The first thing old man Tristan did upon waking was to contact his lawyer, hoping to find any loopholes in that supplementary agreement. As it turned out, there were none. The agreement is ironclad, drafted by the world's top legal team I personally hired. The Tristans can't afford to lose half their fortune, nor can they face a future without an heir, so they've pinned all their hopes, or rather, their fury, on Serena. Cure her. Spare no expense, she must be cured. The old man issued an absolute command, and so began Serena's hellish treatment ordeal. Every day, a parade of doctors came and went. The hormonal treatments from Western medicine caused her weight to yo-yo and her face to break out in severe acne. The acupuncture and moxibustion treatments from traditional Chinese medicine left her body covered in needle marks and burn scars. She also tried all sorts of dubious folk remedies, from swallowing geckos raw to drinking charm-infused water. The once delicate beauty had withered into a gaunt, medicine-ravaged shell of her former self. Tristan was utterly repulsed by her. The mere sight of her made him sick. He went on even wilder drinking and womanizing sprees. He even brought a pregnant woman home once. "You barren hen, look at her." Tristan roared at Serena, pointing at the woman's belly. Serena lost her mind. She lunged at the woman and started grappling with her. "How dare you carry his child? I'll kill you." She shoved the woman down the stairs. "The baby is gone." Tristan slapped Serena over a dozen times across the face in front of all the servants. "You vicious woman, you destroyed my son." He forgot that he himself has a genetic defect with extremely low sperm motility. The child she's carrying most likely isn't even his. Beaten black and blue, Serena lay on the ground and laughed. It was a hollow, joyless sound, more chilling than any sob. "Serves you right, Tristan, you'll die without an heir." That comment hit a raw nerve with everyone in Tristan's family. The patriarch of the Tristan family immediately ordered Serena to be locked in the basement. "Don't even think about coming out until you're cured and can bear children." When my parents heard the news, they rushed over to the Tristan residence and caused a huge scene. How dare you treat Serena like this? She's your lawfully wedded daughter-in-law, Tristan sneered. Daughter-in-law, she's nothing but a barren waste. If it weren't for that agreement, I'd have kicked her out long ago. My parents, too afraid to offend the Tristan family, came begging to me instead. They flew to Shaman and wept at the gates of my villa. Irene, please save your sister. The Tristans are tormenting her to death. I stood on the second-floor balcony, watching them. In our past life, when Serena fell and became vegetative, they blamed me. I died a tragic death on the operating table. Where were they? Didn't she get exactly what she wanted? I said flatly. She stole my wedding. She stole my husband. Now she should enjoy her life of luxury. Irene, you can't be so heartless. That's your twin sister. My mother sobbed. Cruel. I let out a bitter laugh. Where was this concern when you sold me off to the Tristan family for a dowry, in my past life? I caught myself. I couldn't mention the past life. She insisted on marrying him back then. Can't handle it now. Too late. Then you have the babies for her. Don't you carry the sextuplet gene? My father finally showed his true colors. Old mister, Tristan said that if you're willing, the Tristan family will still acknowledge you as one of their own. They actually want to push me back into that living hell. They treat me like a replaceable part, something they can swap out anytime. You want me to have a child for her? I walked downstairs and stood right in front of them. Sure thing. I sneered inwardly. My parents' eyes lit up. It's happening, but I have one condition. Transfer all of Tristan's family assets into my name, and make Tristan and Serena beg on the streets for 3 years. You're insane. My father sprang to his feet. Then get out. I turned around, went back into the villa, and shut the door. I let them curse outside. They don't deserve to be my parents. After a month in confinement, Serena had become gaunt and barely recognizable. She finally reached her breaking point and started scheming. She decided to fake a pregnancy. She bribed a doctor to create a fake ultrasound report. Clutching the document like a get-out-of-jail-free card, she emerged from the basement. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. The Tristan household erupted into chaos. Old mister. Tristan was so overjoyed he nearly fainted again, though Tristan had his doubts. Under the old master's pressure, he had no choice but to grudgingly accept it. Serena's status was instantly restored. Once again, she became the cherished young mistress, treated like a precious jewel. A steady stream of nutritional supplements flowed into her room. She was so full of herself that she even called me just to gloat. Hey sis, did you hear the news? I'm pregnant. Serena's voice dripped with smugness. The doctor says it's likely to be multiples, could even be 6, who knows? Is that so? Congratulations, I replied, my voice perfectly even, feeling disappointed. Did you really think my infertility would be your opportunity? Let me make this clear, Irene, I am the lady of Tristan's house. You'll always be the one who got cast aside. Well, take good care of yourself during the pregnancy. I hung up the phone and opened my laptop. The private investigator had already sent me the evidence of Serena bribing the doctor, video footage, audio recordings, bank transfer records, everything was there. I didn't rush to expose her, let her enjoy her little victory for a few more days. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. I sent a gift to Tristan's family, an anonymous gift. Inside were some herbs to stabilize the pregnancy. These herbs, when used alone, do have properties that help stabilize pregnancy. But when combined with those potent medications Serena previously took for her illness, they produce a peculiar effect. It creates a false impression of pregnancy. Symptoms include nausea, drowsiness, and even a slight swelling in the abdomen. Serena's been taking the medicine I gave her, and her symptoms are looking more and more like a real pregnancy. Tristan's family is completely convinced. They've started setting up the nursery, with 6 cribs lined up in a row. Idiot, it's absolutely magnificent. 3 months, then 4. Serena's baby bump was starting to show. She was weighted on hand and foot every day. Like an empress, Tristan's attitude toward her had improved considerably. After all, she was carrying his legacy in her womb. Only I remained in distant Shaman, waiting in silence, awaiting the climax of this farce. They're all living in a dream. Tristan's family dreams of a flourishing lineage. Serena dreams of gaining status through her child. Tristan dreams of inheriting the family business. It's time to wake up. I've prepared a grand surprise, one that will jolt them wide awake. Serena is 5 months pregnant. Her baby bump is quite prominent now. Old mister. Tristan beams with joy every day, having the servants prepare bird's nest and shark fin soup for her. he decided to host a grand, fetal reveal party, inviting all his close friends and relatives to share in the Tristan family's joy of expecting a new addition. The main purpose was to announce to the world that the Tristan lineage would continue, putting to rest those rumors about genetic defects in the family. On the day of the celebration, the Tristan mansion was adorned with festive decorations. It was even more lively than their wedding day. The invitation has arrived. I wouldn't miss it for the world. My special gift requires a personal delivery. I made my entrance at the banquet hall, dressed in an understated white gown. This poor woman, who had her fiancé stolen by her own sister and then, suddenly fell gravely ill. My parents looked at me with awkward expressions, wanting to come over and say hello but not daring to. Tristan's eyes flickered with a complex mix of emotions when he saw me. He must be filled with regret now. One could bear children, the other couldn't. He made the wrong choice. Meanwhile, Serena sat at the head of the table in expensive maternity wear, looking every bit the queen. Her belly swelled prominently beneath the meticulously applied makeup, which couldn't conceal her air of hollow exhaustion. When she saw me, her expression shifted from surprise to smug defiance. You're here, sis, Serena cooed, gently stroking her belly. Are you feeling better? Look, Tristan and I are 5 months along now. I walked over with a smile. Really, you look wonderful, old mister. Tristan came over too. The way he looked at me now held a touch of regret, but mostly distance. After all, with Serena already pregnant, I'm not that important as the backup anymore. Irene, now that you're here, have a seat. Let's all enjoy ourselves today. Grandpa, I came today specifically to bring a gift for my sister. Serena's eyes lit up. She loves gifts more than anything. I opened the box to find a document inside. This is the remote consultation report I requested from Dr. Wells, the world's leading obstetrics and gynecology specialist. For my sister, I'm concerned about my sister's health. Carrying sextuplets is incredibly demanding. After all, Serena's face froze the moment I uttered the word sextuplets. She only dared to say she was pregnant, but not how many. What remote consultation? We have the best doctors. Tristan frowned. Oh, really? I took out another document and placed it gently on the table. Then how do you explain this ultrasound report from Shanghai First Hospital and the doctor's bank statement? Serena's face instantly turned deathly pale. The wineglass in her hand fell to the floor and shattered into pieces. How dare you say such nonsense? The old man of the Tristan family picked up the document, his hands beginning to tremble. What is this? Dr. Zhang accepted 500,000 from you to fabricate a pregnancy report. The guests erupted in an uproar. Irene, that's a vicious slander, Serena screamed, jumping to her feet. I am pregnant. I really am pregnant. Look at my belly. She waddled with that enormous belly, looking like a ridiculous clown. Your stomach. I chuckled. I produced the third document. This is the ingredient analysis report for all the medications you've recently taken, including those pregnancy tonics I anonymously sent you. I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper meant only for her ears. Those herbs, combined with the hormones you were taking earlier, can cause severe fluid retention and painful bloating. What's growing inside you isn't a child, it's fluid and trapped gas. Serena's eyes widened in terror, as round and unblinking as brass bells. Don't believe me? I turned to old Master Tristan and said, Grandfather, if we call a doctor to perform an ultrasound right here, won't that settle this? The Tristan family's personal physician was already on site. With just a look from the old master, the doctor immediately came over with a portable ultrasound machine. Serena started trembling, her instincts screaming at her to run. Tristan pinned her down firmly. Hold still. I need to see what the hell is inside you. The doctor pressed the probe against Serena's abdomen. The screen was a wash of gray, no fetal heartbeat, no movement, just a blurry, indistinct shadow. Well, the family doctor wiped his brow. Madam, this is ascites. There is no fetus. The entire banquet hall erupted in chaos. You fraud. Old mister. Tristan was so enraged that he hurled his cane at Serena. You damned liar. How dare you make a fool of me? No, that's not true. I can bear children. I really can. Serena broke down sobbing. You can't have kids to save your life. Tristan slapped her across the face. The test results are in. Your tubes are blocked. Premature ovarian failure. You're a barren waste of space. He threw out the original test results too. Now everyone knew. The young mistress of the Tristan household is a fraud who pretends to be infertile. Irene. Serena lunged at me like a rabid dog. It's you, you did this to me, you're the one who drugged me. I easily dodged her attack. Sister, what proof do you have? I sent you pregnancy-preserving medicine, and I have the prescription to prove it. It's your own poor health and reckless medication that caused this condition. Of course I wouldn't leave any evidence behind. Those medicinal powders vanished without a trace long ago. All right, I clapped my hands, drawing everyone's attention. The farce is over, now. Let's get down to business. I turned my gaze to the patriarch of the Tristan family. Grandfather, you took an interest in me back then because of my sextuplet genes, isn't that right? The old man's face was ashen, but he nodded nonetheless. That was his only hope. Did you always assume identical twins have completely matching genes? I looked at Serena. She had collapsed on the floor, limp as a rag doll. Isn't that right? Tristan pressed urgently. Of course not. I replied with a radiant smile. I was the one who tampered with that medical report. I don't have any sextuplet genes at all. The air was deathly still. What did you say, old mister? Tristan's voice trembled, as if he had aged 20 years in an instant. I said, I lied to you all. I'm just an ordinary woman. For that medical examination, I bribed the doctor to forge a perfect report that met your Tristan family's requirements, because I know what you need, a fertile woman. Someone with a body built for bearing children. Why would you do this? Tristan shouted. Why? I met his gaze. For the money, to marry into wealth, just like Serena. I threw every insult Tristan had hurled at me in our past life right back at him. I had it all planned out. Marry you, then use scientific methods to have a child. With the Tristan's wealth, a few rounds of IVF would be no issue at all. But, I said, turning to Serena, my dear sister couldn't wait. She wants to take everything from me. How was I supposed to know you two were meant to be? Since it's true love, I'll step aside for you. I pulled the signed prenuptial agreement addendum from my bag. It's all here in black and white. Tristan, you and Serena are bound together for life. Whether she can bear children or not, you cannot divorce her. Otherwise, you'll leave with nothing, and half of the family assets will go to her. Tristan's face turned the color of liver. He looked at Serena, his eyes filled with nothing but hatred and disgust. He was trapped for life by a barren fraud, and all of this was masterminded by me, the woman he believed to be his one true love. You vicious woman, overwhelmed with rage, old mister. Tristan coughed up blood and collapsed straight to the ground. Grandfather, Tristan cried out in shock. The situation spiraled completely out of control. I stand at the heart of the chaos, smiling. This is my gift, utter, irredeemable despair. You want an heir. In your dreams, may you two lovebirds torture each other in this hopeless marriage till death do you part. Old man Tristan had a stroke, paralyzed on one side, face all contorted, can't even form words properly. The reins of the Tristan family have passed into Tristan's hands, but he found no joy in it. He's become the laughingstock of all Shanghai. He was tricked into marriage by a woman who pretended to carry a gene for sextuplets, got fooled for the second time by this woman's twin sister faking a pregnancy. The most ridiculous part is, he signed an ironclad contract that binds him for life to this infertile sister. He despises me, down to the very marrow of his bones. He wants to get back at me. He's using the Tristan family's connections to try and squeeze me out of business. I've already put that 100 million into the most secure offshore trust. Plus, the financial knowledge from my past life gives me insight into where the economy is headed in the coming years. My money has multiplied several times over. He can't break me. He could only vent all his rage on Serena. Serena's life became worse than living in hell. The news of her fake pregnancy spread throughout Shanghai, making her the laughingstock of all the society ladies during their tea parties. The Tristan family regarded her as a disgrace. Tristan stopped beating her. That would have been letting her off too easy. He resorted to emotional abuse. He locked her in the most remote attic of the Tristan family mansion, giving her only one meal a day. She was forbidden to leave the house or contact the outside world. Yet he didn't dare let her die, because the agreement was still in effect. Serena has lost her mind. She spends her days in the attic, laughing and crying hysterically while clutching a pillow and calling it baby. Sometimes she flies into a rage, hurling vicious curses at me and Tristan. My parents are falling apart too. Their dream of marrying into wealth was shattered, and they ended up offending the Tristan family. Their company went bankrupt soon after. They tried to come after me, but I called the police and had them removed. Irene, I hope you die a horrible death. My mother cursed at me over the phone. I've already died once. I replied calmly. When Tristan couldn't find me, he went after my parents instead. He made it impossible for them to survive in Shanghai, forcing them to slink back to their hometown and scavenge through trash to make ends meet. That was their just deserts. 6 months later, Tristan tracked me down. He cornered me at my beachfront villa in Xiamen. He'd grown gaunt, with bloodshot eyes that made him look like some tormented soul clawing his way out of hell. Irene, he rasped, his voice raw. I was sunbathing on the beach, my eyes calm and unruffled behind the sunglasses. Mr. Tristan, is there something you need? Why are you doing this to me? He roared. You've ruined me, you've destroyed the Tristan family. I was just helping your true love find its way. I took off my sunglasses and looked him straight in the eye. True love, it's you I love. He rushed over, trying to grab my hand. I dodged him. You love me. You're in love with that fake 6 clone gene. What you truly love is the Tristan family inheritance. Tristan, you don't love anyone, you only love yourself. No, that's not true. He suddenly dropped to his knees before me. Irene, I know I was wrong. Please, save me. You drafted that agreement yourself. Surely you know how to get it dissolved, right? Help me divorce Serena, and I'll give you anything. I'll split the Tristan family fortune with you. Half is yours. Why should I help you? Watching you two torment each other brings me nothing but joy. You, Tristan's eyes flashed with menace. Don't push me. And what if I do? I rose to my feet, looking down at him from my full height. That's great. Kill me, like you did in your last life. Tristan froze. Some things are better left unsaid. Tristan, didn't you say you wanted children? I blurted out. His eyes lit up as if he'd found a lifeline. You'd really do this for me, Irene? Would you bear my child? No. I'm just sharing some wonderful news. I almost burst out laughing. I'm already pregnant. My hand gently rested on the soft curve of my growing belly. It's been 4 months, perfectly healthy. Tristan's face contorted instantly. Whose child is it? Of course it's not yours. I met someone in Xiamen, an ordinary, warm-hearted man who genuinely loves me. He doesn't care whether I can bear 6 children. He only cares about my happiness. No, impossible, Tristan snapped. He'd always believed that despite his low sperm motility, we could still have a child as long as he had me. But now, I'm carrying another man's child. Oh, and the doctor said. I leaned in, my voice a venomous whisper. It appears to be multiples this time too. Maybe it's 6. I'm actually only carrying 1. But I don't mind making him suffer a little more. Tristan clutched his head, letting out a beast-like roar. The 6 babies he'd always dreamed of. The future of his Tristan bloodline were growing in someone else's womb. No, they're in my womb, but they belong to someone else. You lied to me. This has all been a lie from the very beginning. Yes, I deceived you, I replied, relishing the sight of his complete breakdown. Just like how you deceived me in our past life. Tristan, weren't you the one who wanted your 6 children? I took a small box out of my bag and tossed it to him. He opened it to find 6 tiny, blood-red stones inside. In our past life, you owed me 6 children. I'm giving them back to you. I don't know if he understood. It doesn't matter anymore. I turned and walked toward the villa. My husband is waiting for me to have dinner. Tristan suddenly rushed up from behind, a knife now in his hand. Irene, I'll kill you. If I can't have you, no one will. But I was prepared for this. I pressed the remote in my hand. That wasn't a gunshot. It was the villa's security system. The high-voltage fence activated instantly. Tristan was thrown back, convulsing on the ground as the knife clattered away. My hired bodyguard rushed out and pinned him down. I walked over and picked up the blade. The steel glinted coldly, just like in a past life. That cold scalpel. You want children, don't you? I crouched down, looking at his face contorted in agony. I can make it so you never have to worry about children again. A flash of the blade, blood gushed out. It wasn't mine, it was Tristan's. I struck swiftly and precisely. End him, make sure he can never have children. Tristan's agonized scream tore through the tranquil beach. Now you and Serena can be together forever. Literally, 2 barren failures. A couple chained in bitter resentment. I dropped the knife and called the police. Assault? No. Self-defense. He broke into my home armed with a knife. Intent on assault, Tristan was taken away by the police. He had been fooling around, got someone pregnant, and then forced her to have an abortion, all with solid evidence against him. On top of that, there was this attempted stabbing. He didn't dare. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The Tristan family is completely finished. the patriarch is bedridden after a stroke, while the heir is not only in prison but also permanently disabled. The company's stock plummeted and was quickly carved up by other conglomerates. Serena is still going mad in the attic. After Tristan's family went bankrupt, all the servants fled. She was committed to a psychiatric hospital. Rumor has it that after Tristan got out of prison, with no money to his name, he had no choice but to live with her in government-subsidized housing, every single day. They hurled curses and traded blows. They can't get divorced. That agreement is still legally binding. They're like two rabid dogs chained together, tearing each other apart until death, never to be parted. I did it. I rested my hand on my belly as I gazed out at the sea. The sun felt wonderfully warm. A gentle sea breeze whispered by. I hung up immediately. Story 2. After the zombie virus broke out, my sister and I found 2 crystal cores, between the metal ability and the healing ability. She took the lead in choosing the more powerful former, and I was forced to choose the healing ability. When she led the team to search for supplies, I was enjoying the air conditioning in the medical station of the base. When she was fighting in the sea of corpses and blood, I was sleeping in the arms of the base leader. Her clothes were stained with blood and brains, while I was always dressed in a white robe, spotless. In the end, I was pushed off the city wall by her and was devoured by the zombies. When I opened my eyes again, my sister and I were reborn on the day when we chose our abilities. She took the lead in choosing the healing ability. It's my turn to enjoy the good life this time. I smiled and said nothing. 01, wait a minute, I take it back. I want the healing ability. Just as I was about to get the pure white crystal core representing the healing ability, my sister suddenly changed her mind. I knew that she was reborn too, but it seemed that she didn't know that I was reborn as well. It was the second day after the zombie outbreak. And we found the body of a researcher in the corridor of the apartment. The body was already cold, and there was a damaged password box next to it. We tiptoed and carried the box back to the shared house, and opened it effortlessly. Inside were 2 crystal cores, one gold and one white. There were small words next to them that read, metal, and healing. In the previous life, my sister firmly believed that the metal ability was definitely powerful. And having it was equivalent to getting the script of the leading lady in the apocalypse, so she left the healing ability, which had no offensive power, to me, and she called it protection for me. But when I became the so-called little princess of the base, she was unwilling to fight the zombies all day long. The milk that she could only afford after going on several missions, I could easily get just by moving my fingers. Even Arthur, the leader of the base, became my admirer. Such a huge disparity in treatment finally shattered her hypocritical facade. Rory, why do you deserve all this? I've risked my life for the base countless times. Clearly, I've made a greater contribution to the base. Why do you get the leader's favor? In fact, I didn't have a good life, and I disdained anyone's favor. My sister and I were both orphans and had depended on each other since we were children, so I instinctively wanted to explain. But the person in front of me had been carried away by the anger of jealousy, and my tragic death was the most satisfying way for her to vent her anger. In the end, my own sister didn't hesitate to push me off the high wall of the base. Outside the high wall, there were continuous roars and dense zombies. The fear came before the pain, then came the intense pain as my limbs and all the skin on my body were gnawed on. If I could do it all over again, would definitely drag her to hell with me. 02. When I opened my eyes again, my sister and I were reborn on the day when we chose our abilities. I lowered my head and recalled the experiences of my previous life, and I didn't respond to her request for the healing ability for a moment, but she mistakenly thought that I didn't want to give it to her. This made her even more convinced that the healing ability was a rare and good thing, so without saying a word, she rushed towards me excitedly, snatched the crystal core and swallowed it directly. It's my turn to enjoy the good life this time. You just wait to deal with those disgusting things every day. Feeling disgusted, I shrank away from her, avoiding her touch. There was only one golden crystal core left in the box. That was the power that I had yearned for in my previous life. Seeing that I didn't take it immediately, Nova's expression became even more triumphant. Don't worry, sister. When I become a famous person in the base, I will definitely take good care of you. She gritted her teeth and squeezed out the words, take good care of, and her wide-open eyes seemed to want to devour me alive. So what if she was reborn? My silly sister was as stupid and selfish as ever. I looked submissive and said, then I'll have to trouble you. Sister, we have plenty of time ahead. 03. The next morning, Nova was still in her dreams, but I opened my eyes. I took out the golden crystal core that I hadn't taken yet. It sparkled with a sharp luster in the sunlight. At first glance, it looked no different from the day before, but if you compared it carefully, you could find that the transparent film that originally wrapped around the outside of the crystal core had disappeared. This layer of film was almost integrated with the crystal core itself, and it was very difficult for ordinary people to notice anything unusual. If I hadn't known the inside story in advance because of my rebirth, I'm afraid I would have made the same mistake again. At that time, I was regarded as a mobile human medical tool, treating the wounded day and night, regardless of the weather, until my ability was exhausted, then recovered, and exhausted again. Using my ability a lot made my ability level rise rapidly, and I gradually discovered the problem in my ability. Every time I used my ability one more time, I could feel the failure of my internal organs more clearly. Later, I learned that in order to prevent others from stealing the crystal core, the researchers added a colorless and odorless poisonous film to the surface of the crystal core. There was no problem with contact, but taking it directly would lead to severe poisoning. As the ability was continuously used and developed, the toxicity would appear and gradually increase. There was no cure, and it would only end with death. But the method to dissolve this layer of film was incredibly simple. Just melt it with body temperature. It is said that it was provided for the high-level people to deal with emergencies. It's really thoughtful. Yesterday, Nova swallowed the crystal core directly. Her death was just a matter of time. I carefully wiped the crystal core through a cloth. Only after confirming that there was no danger at all did I swallow it. The seemingly hard crystal core melted as soon as it entered my mouth. Immediately, a warm current flowed through my limbs, and along with it came a significant improvement in my perception. I closed my eyes and felt the changes in my body. When I opened my eyes again, I could already see the faintly flowing golden light in the air. I stretched out my hand and concentrated. Slowly, a metal needle cone with a bulging middle and pointed ends took shape in my palm, with a change of my consciousness. The metal cone immediately turned into golden dots and melted into the air. As the zombie virus swept across the world, the environment of the Earth was also changing drastically. Metal elements began to appear in the air. As the proficiency of the metal ability increased, ability users could even freely control the metal elements in the human body in the later stage. This was no different from a walking human killing weapon. The base regularly drew the blood of ability users every month, calling it a physical examination, but in fact, it was to monitor the degree of ability users' mastery of their abilities. When the integration degree reached a dangerous value, the base would assassinate the ability users in the name of cleaning up. I'm afraid this is also the reason why Nova worked so hard to kill zombies but never got any benefits. They were afraid. No leader likes something that is out of control, especially something that can threaten themselves. What's more, in the apocalypse, everyone is in danger, and human nature has long been destroyed along with the brilliant urban civilization. I got up and stood by the window, lifting a corner of the curtain. If there were no accidents, Arthur was already on his way. 04. Under the shadow of my previous life, I woke up very early. I sat quietly by the side, looking at my sister's sleeping appearance. Under my creepy gaze, Nova suddenly woke up with a start. She swallowed, and then became angry and ashamed because she was scared by me. The healing ability is already mine. It's no use for you to daydream anymore. Oh, I don't want it at all. My indifferent attitude aroused her dissatisfaction. Before her sharp and piercing voice could penetrate the wall, I kindly pointed in the direction of the window. There were quite a few zombies downstairs, and that shout was no different from the dining hall's meal bell. But she seemed to have misunderstood something. She gave me a glare and then quickly got up from the bed. She piled all the few clothes she had from the wardrobe onto the bed. Then she tried on the clothes one by one in front of the mirror. So she remembered Arthur. When Arthur met us in the previous life, he already had an ability, but after all, he couldn't withstand the zombie sea tactics. The other side had a large number of zombies, and his ability was quickly exhausted. He also suffered a lot of injuries during his escape. However, his ability was fire, which was different from ours. Ours were activated through artificial crystal cores. They were unique. There was only one healing ability user in the world, and there was also only one metal ability user, and he awakened his ability after being infected with the zombie virus. Yes, there was a certain chance of awakening an ability after being infected with the zombie virus. Therefore, many crazy people went forward one after another. They didn't want to be subservient anymore. And they didn't want to live in humiliation. They shouted that it was better to take a gamble than to live a cowardly life. In the end, most of these people became members of the zombie army. While thinking, Nova finally chose her clothes. After hesitating for a while, she said, "Sister, let's go out and find food quickly." In the previous life, when my sister and I went out to look for food, we accidentally saved Arthur, who was being chased by zombies. Of course, my sister wanted to go alone, so that she could monopolize the favor of the future base leader. She could do that in the previous life, but now, she had to drag me along, because the person who now had the powerful metal ability was me. 05. There was a medium-sized supermarket near the apartment. It was located in a remote area with sparse traffic, so it became our first choice in the previous life. It was also there that we saved Arthur. The journey was very smooth, and we hardly had a direct confrontation with the zombies. Nova hid behind me the whole time, like a quail. She was even almost scared to scream by a severed leg. I quickly grabbed a piece of clothing fragment from the ground and stuffed it into her mouth. I said in an unfriendly tone, "If you want to die, go far away, don't drag me into it." I had thought that she would be useless without an offensive ability, but I didn't expect her to be this useless. After entering the supermarket, I quietly used my ability to turn into a cone and penetrate the zombie's head. Then I turned the cone back into little dots of elemental light and let it dissipate in the air. After clearing the zombies, I took the lead in going to the daily necessities area and getting a waterproof mountaineering bag. I was choosing medicines, and she was looking out at the door, waiting for Arthur. I was searching for food, and she changed her posture of looking out. When I carried the bag on my back and was ready to return, she had already changed into her seventh posture that she thought was attractive. "What a fool," I said. "It seems that he won't come. I'm leaving first. Do as you like." She ignored me. I was speechless and turned around directly. The next second, a figure fleeing in a panic was running towards the supermarket in the distance. There were also quite a few zombies following behind. TSK, what bad luck. Arthur wasn't a good person. But I couldn't let him die so easily either. When he was about to be caught up, I silently turned into a silver needle and pierced the head of the zombie closest to him. When he gradually distanced himself from the danger behind him, I created a metal ball on the ground to make him fall. By the time he reached the supermarket, I had already killed most of the zombies behind him. Seeing that there was no danger, Nova, who had been pretending to be dead, suddenly jumped out to fawn on him. It was so scary. "Fortunately, you're okay. Let me help you treat your injuries." She used her healing ability to cure most of Arthur's injuries. The man's eyes immediately sparkled with amazement. There was an obscure look in the depths of his eyes. After Arthur expressed his gratitude to her, he turned to me instead and asked if it was me who had killed the zombies just now. Seeing that the attention was diverted, Nova gave me a vicious look. I chuckled and denied it. "No, maybe it was a ghost." This denial was exactly what my sister wanted. She quickly echoed that there should be someone passing by and doing a good deed out of righteousness. She also especially emphasized that her sister was just an ordinary person without the slightest strength, without any ability. Under her enthusiastic invitation, Arthur, seemingly passively but actually actively, followed us back to the apartment. "My dear sister, you've just invited a wolf into the house." In the previous life, the number of people he had killed was much more than the zombies you killed. 06. At this time, the small apartment was divided into two spaces. With his tall and handsome appearance and his subtle and ambiguous tone, Arthur quickly coaxed Nova so much that she lost her sense of direction, just like how he had deceived me in the previous life. The two of them were snuggling up on one side of the room as if no one else was around. My sister would occasionally throw me a provocative look. When I took out the food from the backpack, she suddenly froze. Yes, she could only see the man in her eyes. How could she remember that the original purpose of going to the supermarket was to get supplies? Leaning in Arthur's arms, she ordered haughtily, "Rory, why are you so selfish? Do you want to eat all the food by yourself?" Although Arthur frowned, he still said gently, "Rory, it doesn't matter if you don't like me. Nova is after all your own sister. You can't just watch your sister starve to death, can you?" It's so disgusting to hear him call like that. "You both have abilities. If you don't want to starve to death, go find food yourself." I casually pointed in the direction of the door, too lazy to pay attention to these two immoral people. I ate the compressed biscuits in my hand on my own. The crunching sound when I bit them was particularly harsh in the silence. Just as Nova was angry and about to come and snatch the food, roars suddenly came from all directions. We were surrounded by zombies, but in a short while, the sound disappeared without a trace, as if nothing had happened. Knock, knock, knock. There was a rhythmic knocking sound outside the door. I slowed down my breathing and stared intently in the direction of the door, not daring to relax for a moment. Surely a very powerful ability user has come and solved all the zombies. Nova was both surprised and delighted. Before I could stop her, she had already opened the door. Outside the door stood a young man in white. His soft short hair was neatly attached to his forehead, and his pair of dark eyes were bottomless. When he saw her looking over, the young man smiled slightly, and his sculpted features immediately came to life. I passed by here just now and noticed that there were survivors. So I helped you get rid of all the zombies. I wonder if I could stay here for one night. He deliberately emphasized the pronunciation of the words, with a hint of hoarseness, more like a smile, or a coax. Nova's ears suddenly turned red, and she affably invited him in. I narrowed my eyes and took an imperceptible step back, trying my best to reduce my presence, but the man turned around and walked towards me, slowly extending his hand. "Hello, sister, I'm Adrian." Before I could react, Nova couldn't wait to take his hand. She said in an affected manner, "Hello, little brother, my name is Nova, and my ability is healing." I curled my lips into a faint smile and raised my eyes to look at Arthur, who was being ignored beside us. His face looked even uglier than mine. It seemed that he had already recognized the identity of the young man in front of him. As for my elder sister, she might as well have written the word "like" on her face. Adrian forced a smile in response, but his gaze remained fixed on me. Finally, Nova couldn't hold back any longer. "Let me introduce my younger sister to you." Oops. She hurried towards me but accidentally tripped, and a flash of light came from her sleeve. It was something she had secretly picked up from the ground when she was out, and it was stained with zombie blood. Even if it made a tiny wound on the body of an ability user, that person would immediately become one of those disgusting creatures. 1 second before she pounced on me, a cold voice sounded. "What dirty hands." 07. Adrian wiped his hands on the curtain as if in disgust. Beside him was Nova, whose right hand had been broken. Adrian placed his slender index finger against his lips. "Shoo, be quiet." Nova was so frightened that she was stunned. After choking a few times, she finally didn't dare to cry out loud. She bit her lower lip tightly and cast a pleading look at Arthur. Arthur hesitated for a moment, but thinking that she had the healing ability, he decided to stand in front of her. Burning flames ignited in his palm and were aimed at Adrian, but Adrian seemed not to hear it. Instead, he walked towards me step by step. I stood still where I was. When our eyes met, behind my calm gaze was an unfathomable undercurrent. With every step he took, the growls around us became louder. Before I knew it, the streets and corridors were already crowded with densely packed zombies. I had seen him before, in the deepest room in the basement of the medical station in my previous life. There was a person trapped by iron chains as thick as an arm. Later, he became the zombie king. It seemed that he had also been reborn. According to the progress in my previous life, Adrian was still a human ability user at this time, but he was being hunted down by the human high-ups because of his special ability. Since he became the zombie king ahead of time this time, something must have gone wrong. The crashing down of the door panel interrupted my thoughts. Before the zombies rushed in, I decisively broke the window, and Adrian jumped out first. Behind me, Nova was screaming and cursing like a madwoman. "Rory, are you crazy? Hurry up and come over to help block the door." I raised a bright and sarcastic smile. "Don't worry, sister, you're a healing ability user. You're not that easy to die. Living is much scarier than dying." After saying that, I jumped without looking back. "Little zombie, catch sister steadily." 08. Adrian's figure was as fast as lightning. He gathered his strength and jumped, and firmly caught me in his arms. I wanted to get down and walk by myself, but he held me down firmly. "Sister, after not seeing each other for so long, have you missed me?" He leaned pitifully in front of me, but there was a hint of cunning in his eyes that couldn't be hidden. I was helpless. "Let me down." The day before I died in my previous life was the last time I saw him. The next day, he successfully broke free from his imprisonment and escaped. The base was in chaos, and I was also tied to the city wall by Nova during the chaos. Logically speaking, it seemed that his unintentional actions had also contributed to my death. He bit his lower lip, looking very wronged. "It seems that sister doesn't want to see me." Then I'll just leave now. As he said that, he was about to put me down, but I suddenly hugged him even tighter, which was unusual for me, because at the moment when we were about to land, the originally quiet zombies suddenly stared at me menacingly. Adrian proudly lifted me up a little and swaggered through the crowd of zombies while holding me in his arms. He was as leisurely as if he were going for a stroll. Under the shocked gazes of the two people upstairs, we gradually walked away. My encounter with Adrian was purely accidental. When I was exploring around the medical station that day, I discovered his presence. Humans created the zombie virus and, on this basis, extracted crystal nuclei containing abilities. Essentially, the abilities awakened by the virus were no different from the abilities artificially extracted. Therefore, I keenly sensed that, like me, he also had the ability in the aspect of healing. I poked his delicate and bloodless face. Hey, you were also locked up because of your healing ability, right? He lazily lifted his eyelids, and a pair of long and narrow peach blossom eyes glanced at me for a moment before closing again. He was quite good-looking, but he had a bit of a bad temper. I didn't give up and poked his face on the other side. You look younger than me. I'll call you little brother, little brother. What did you do wrong to be beaten like this? If you're obedient like sister, you can avoid a lot of suffering. Finally, he was so annoyed by me that he bared his teeth at me. Humph. My ability is regeneration. Anyone who gets close to me doesn't live long. I advise you to get as far away as possible. He was like a small animal whose tail had been stepped on. Perhaps it was the mutual understanding and sympathy between healing ability users. Since then, I would always find an opportunity to sneak in and visit him. Sometimes I brought a steamed bun and a glass of milk, and sometimes I brought a flower. Of course, there were also times when I went empty-handed, and I would just tell him about what happened outside. From the initial, mind your own business, to later calling me sister all the time, slowly, I became more and more familiar with Adrian. I also learned from him about his tragic experiences. Unlike me, his regeneration ability was passive. He couldn't output his ability like I could, but he could make himself immortal. Even if only his head was left, Adrian could regrow a complete body. Because of this, his flesh and blood were supplied to the human high-ups to fulfill their dream of eternal life. Ordinary ability users couldn't be infected with the zombie virus for the second time, otherwise they would completely mutate. But Adrian was different. He had a strong resistance to the virus. So the high-ups injected the virus into his body many times to promote the research of the vaccine. Unfortunately, he didn't make it through. In the end, he became the zombie king, half human and half zombie. Those greedy people were always like this, trying to control everything that couldn't be controlled. In the end, they could only reap what they had sown. 09. The once glorious city cluster now only had one building in the city center still standing, in the presidential suite on the top floor. Adrian and I sat facing each other. He called a few zombie minions to bring a basket of fruits, and he picked an apple from it and started peeling it. Sister, now that I've become the zombie king, I'm not afraid of being caught by them. As he said that, he proudly raised his chin, as if waiting for my praise. I rubbed the center of my brows. So you deliberately turned yourself into this neither human nor ghost state. He nodded like a puppy, as if there was a fluffy big tail behind him wagging excitedly. I frowned even deeper. Didn't you think about what would happen if you failed? What would happen if you completely turned into a mindless zombie? After hearing what I said, the light in his eyes became even brighter, and he happily moved closer to me. Is sister caring about me? I felt exhausted, seeing that my face was gradually turning ugly. Adrian became serious in an instant. I was wrong. I promise I won't do it again. How about sister? You hit me. He spoke sincerely, but he didn't stop making small movements. He was almost leaning against me. I sighed, pushed his head away, and then took the apple from his hand. I quickly stuffed it into his mouth. Under his mournful gaze, I lovingly rubbed his hair to comfort him. The next second, my face became serious again. Since we've been given a second chance at life, we must never repeat the same mistakes. It's time to get rid of those scumbags who don't deserve to be human. Those scumbags referred to the high-ups in the Dawn base, including Arthur. Dawn, what an ironic name. They developed the zombie virus under the banner of human evolution and the elimination of the weak. But before the vaccine was successfully developed, the virus got out of control, so they decided to conduct experiments on living people. The people who disappeared inexplicably in the base were all locked in the basement of the medical station and, voluntarily, sacrificed themselves for the future of humanity. The air conditioner that was always on in the station was to reduce the activity of the virus. Similarly, the movement of zombies would also be restricted in a low-temperature environment, but more importantly, it was to slow down the decay rate of the corpses. Yes, in the eyes of the high-ups. Even dead experimental subjects had value. The experimental subjects wouldn't be freed until the last bit of their value was squeezed out. Their final destination was the stomachs of the zombies. Surprised, aren't you? But this is human nature. It wasn't the end of the world that destroyed human nature. It was human nature that nurtured the end of the world. 10. The bloody memories replayed in my mind over and over again, and Adrian's face also darkened. He took out the apple from his mouth. Sister, we must never let those people go. Whatever you want to do, I'll cooperate with you. The first thing to do next was to enhance my ability. Only when I was strong myself could I have the right to speak and not be at the mercy of others. Adrian cooperatively called a large group of zombie minions, old and young, some missing arms and legs, all kinds. But as soon as they saw me, they all stood still like puppets. I was going to practice actual combat, not hit wooden stakes. After giving Adrian a good lecture, he became much more obedient. Although the movement speed of the zombies was still much slower than normal, it was barely acceptable. Adrian came to watch my training every day, and he stuck to me like a piece of chewing gum and couldn't be driven away. In desperation, I had to let him be. After 2 months of devil training, I had already mastered the metal ability to a great extent, without reaching out my hand. I could conjure up dozens of silver needles just by using my mental power. My perception of metal objects within a few miles around me had also reached the limit, and I could manipulate their movement and shape at will. I could even construct a completely enclosed metal space. Adrian cheered loudly from the side. I patted his head with satisfaction. Silly boy, leave all the brainwork to sister in the future. You just find a shady place to stay, so as not to be noticed by them. He nodded solemnly. Then, the next day, when I was looking for a car in the city, I didn't encounter a single zombie along the way. On the third day, when I was about to drive out of the city, a group of zombies suddenly appeared. They didn't want to bite me, they just simply blocked my way. I quickly and cleanly cleared the roadblocks. On the 7th day, in front of the base gate, I saw a familiar figure among the people queuing up to enter the base. Sure enough, taking advantage of the inattentiveness of the armed personnel checking at the gate, I grabbed his ear and quickly dragged him to an inconspicuous corner. It hurts, it hurts. Adrian looked at me with tears in his eyes, and his eyes were red all around. I sneered but also let go of my hand. Stop pretending, zombies don't have the sense of pain. Seeing that his act of feigning injury had been exposed, he had to hold back his tears. But the word, aggrieved, might as well have been written on his face. I supported my forehead and sighed. I didn't want you to come for your own good. Those people have been looking for you. I'm afraid you won't even be able to pass the security check on the first floor of the base. It was simply like delivering oneself to the enemy from 1,000 miles away. The gift was small, but the thought was deep. But I didn't say it out loud for fear of hurting his self-esteem. He pouted but still refused to give in. What if that person does something bad to sister again? I'm afraid I won't be able to save you in time. Which person? I was puzzled for a second and then immediately realized. The kid was jealous. You mean that beast Arthur? Don't worry, I won't even let him touch a single hair of mine. What if he does touch you? Then I'll chop it off. After much persuasion, I finally sent this ancestor away. Since I had never revealed my ability in front of Arthur, he wouldn't search for my whereabouts in a big way for the time being. I entered the base unimpeded. I hadn't walked a few steps when I met someone I knew. It really was a narrow path for enemies. 11. Before the other person noticed me, I quickly covered half of my face with a face towel and quickly blended into the crowd. Nova, dressed in a white dress, passed by me. It hadn't been long, and she was already as thin as a skeleton. As if a gust of wind could blow her away, behind her was a large group of strong and sturdy bodyguards, which formed a sharp contrast. Because of the improvement of my ability, I could clearly distinguish the difference between ordinary people and ability users. Those were not ordinary ability users, although my actions were restricted in my previous life. Arthur had never assigned so many people to supervise me at the same time. My ability to know the situation had earned me a lot of freedom from him. It seemed that during the few months I was away, My dear sister had probably done a lot of stupid things. Stop dawdling, hurry up. If the leader punishes us for being late later, we won't get any benefits, and we won't make it easy for you either. One of the big men pushed Nova, who was still choosing fruits at the fruit stall, viciously. What are you choosing? Don't think you're superior just because you're with the leader. What's so great about the healing ability? You still have to be locked up and used for experiments. Sarcasm, abuse, disdain, contempt, humiliation. Sister, this is what I have suffered, and now it's your turn. I wonder how you feel now. You must be very happy to have Arthur's favor as you wished. I didn't waste any more time and decisively turned around and walked towards the dilapidated alley. The person behind me was roughly pushed to the ground, while my steps were brisk and light. We all have our own futures. Sister, open your eyes and take a good look. This is how the most powerful ability in the apocalypse is used. 12. It was still quite bright when I arrived, which was not conducive to sneaking around, so I wandered around the alleys where the poor lived for a long time, waiting for the night to fall. This was the area with the weakest supervision in the entire base. Most of the people living here were ordinary people without power or influence, mostly the elderly, children, or those with disabilities, but it was rare to see young and strong men and young women. Most of the former had become bait to attract zombies, losing their lives in the bellies of the zombies, or had been pressed into service as conscripts, doing the hardest and most tiring work in the base. Those who were unlucky became experimental subjects, unable to live and unable to die. As for young women, their fate was no better than Nova's. The beautiful ones were raped, and those who were not good-looking were dragged away to do manual labor. Their final destination was without exception, the herd of zombies. To facilitate research, the people above had deliberately raised a group of zombies, specifically for experiments. At the same time, in order to better maintain the activity of the zombies, it was necessary to continuously provide fresh flesh and blood. Thus, there were continuous disappearances of people. Perhaps some people had already noticed something was wrong, but so what? The sun still rose as usual. Before the darkness eroded them, they pretended that everything was bright. Everyone was deceiving themselves. I simulated the action route in my mind over and over again, until I was sure there were no mistakes. The thick night had already shrouded the entire land. In my previous life, I had tried to escape, so I secretly memorized the range of all the surveillance cameras in the base, but my ability was too weak, and with the toxicity taking effect, I had to give up. This time, I successfully avoided the inspections of all the informants and managed to sneak into Arthur's room. He was very perceptive and regained consciousness immediately even though he was in a state of sleep. Unfortunately, in a battle, a single second could mean the difference between life and death. It's you, Jean. He was too late. I controlled the blade to cut off his tongue to prevent his cries from attracting unnecessary trouble. At the same time, I conjured up 4 metal cones as thick as a calf's leg and nailed him to the bedboard. I completely severed his tendons in his hands and feet. I put my hand to my mouth. Shoo, if you beg for mercy, I'll be even harsher. When those innocent people knelt down and begged you not to use them for experiments, did you show any mercy? Arthur stared at me like a madman, his whole body shaking violently, and he even lost control of his bladder and bowels. Look, whether it's the victim or the perpetrator, when faced with a threat to their lives, their subconscious reactions are the same. The villain holding the butcher's knife is also a coward who is fierce on the outside but weak on the inside. There was a smile on the corner of my mouth. By the way, I am indeed a metal ability user. Congratulations. You guessed right, so what reward should I give you? How about calling a little friend to liven things up? After saying that, I opened the window of his bedroom, and a zombie eagle flew in from outside. While I was improving my ability, Adrian wasn't idle either. He had developed his mental power to a very high level and could now control all things infected by the virus at will. When he wasn't by my side, it was through this eagle that we communicated with each other. I stretched out my hand, and the zombie eagle docilely retracted its claws and stood obediently on my left arm. You've had a hard journey. Now it's time for a meal. As soon as the words fell, the zombie eagle immediately regained its cruel and bloodthirsty nature and launched a one-sided massacre against Arthur on the bed. After the buffet was over, only a large black hole was left on his chest. He lay on the bed, barely breathing, with more air going in than coming out. But I am a cautious person. After confirming that he had no more breath, I specifically cut off his head and let the zombie eagle carry it back and play with it like a ball. Sister, it'll be your turn soon. 13. I entered Nova's room through the window. She didn't even lock the window, which saved me the trouble of breaking it by force. A crescent moon hung in the sky, casting a silver light. There was a figure sitting upright on the bed. You know everything, don't you? Nova spoke as if she was calm, but in fact, she was on the verge of collapse. Of course, sister, you insisted on swapping with me. Why are you regretting it now? I raised an eyebrow. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes and slowly slid down her gaunt face. Sister, since you can come here, you must be able to save me out, right? She stared at me, holding on to her last hope. I nodded slightly. She moved back slightly, almost imperceptibly, and continued to pour out her grievances to me. I leaned against the wall boredly, crossing my arms. Before she could press the button, I moved behind her like a ghost. At the same time, I cut off her tongue and both hands. This button looks very familiar. How about you tell me what it's for, sister? I asked with a fake smile. Humph, even in this situation, my sister still wouldn't let me go. In my previous life, when I was planning to escape once, I accidentally pressed this button. Once pressed, impenetrable isolation walls would rise at all the entrances and exits of this room, trapping people inside and killing them. By then, when the support from the high-ups arrived, there would be no way to escape even with wings. As sisters connected by blood, I knew my sister too well. She and I had already reached the point where one of us had to die. Don't worry, Arthur has already gone down first. You'll soon go down to accompany him. By the way, do you know why he, as a high-up, appeared near the apartment? I leaned close to her ear and said word by word. Because he was hunting down the person who stole the crystal core. And from the first moment you saw him, you revealed your ability. Nova stared at me in disbelief, with tears, snot, and thick blood smearing all over her face. She sat down on the ground, laughing and crying, as if mocking herself. She had lost to me again. I squatted down and looked her in the eye. Sister, do you know why you lost? Because you only care about yourself. You're too self-righteous. Sister, you're too arrogant. You thought that with the healing ability that everyone supported, you could have everything, but you didn't know that in the apocalypse, the only way to survive was to hold the knife in your own hand. Instead of dealing with her directly, I handcuffed her to the balcony. You're no different from those beasts in human skin. Sister, watch carefully. This is how an ability should be used. 14. I covered the entire base with my consciousness, one after another. Metal cages rose up in the residences of the high-ups in the base, the medical station, and the gathering place of ability users. They glistened with a cold luster under the merciless moonlight. According to my memory from my previous life, the bottommost layer of the basement of the medical station was a zombie pit, where the zombies were kept. To strengthen the defense, the entire medical station was built with metal, which happened to provide me with great convenience. I slowly stretched out my hand. The buildings of the medical station above the ground were all uprooted and floated in the air. The frontline wounded were living there. Then I gathered my strength into a fist, and the metal partitions between the underground building floors instantly decomposed. The researchers inside fell straight to the bottommost layer and became the zombies' food. For a moment, cries of pain filled the air. After I dealt with the zombies in the pit, Adrian also arrived in time. I curled my lips into a smile. You're just in time. There were still some high-ups that needed to be dealt with. The wealthy area of the base, the commotion just now had woken everyone up. Under the protection of fully armed soldiers, those pot-bellied high-ranking personnel were hurriedly evacuating. I raised my hand, and the gun barrels that were originally aimed at me and Adrian instantly turned in the opposite direction. All the lackeys who were helping the evildoers were shot in the head. One of the high-ups recognized Adrian and his eyes were filled with greed. No matter who it is, as long as you catch him, you'll be rewarded with 100 crystal cores. Instantly, the wind of a fist blew past my ear. The next moment, screams rang out one after another. The zombie eagle that was originally hidden in the night revealed its true appearance. I protected Adrian behind me, and the scene in front of me was like a purgatory. When some of the high-ups were about to escape from the chaotic crowd, metal walls rose up from the ground, cutting off all the remaining people's hope of survival. Half an hour later, there were white bones everywhere. I stretched out my hand again, and all the metal cages instantly disappeared. When I went to the balcony again, Nova was already dead. The biggest cancer had been eradicated, and there was only one last thing left. eliminate all the zombies, and also, deal with myself. 15, 2 months later, the Dawn base. Oh no, it should be called the Happy base now. There was a new human leader there. It didn't matter who it was, and I didn't care either. In a way, having experienced 2 lives, I could be considered indifferent. I didn't have a strong sense of identity or belonging to any specific human base. All I did was just because my morality was intermittently noble. Some humans were disappointing, but the human race didn't deserve to be exterminated. On a sunny morning, I sent an invitation letter to all the human bases, inviting them to witness my death. A tree that stands out in the forest is sure to be struck by the wind. In the past 2 months, the human bases had extended an olive branch to me again and again, hoping to restart the research on the virus and abilities to save all of humanity. I refused all of them, and as expected, I was hunted down. Only by dying without a burial place in front of them could they completely give up, so that there wouldn't be a second Dawn base. There were many people who came to observe, and among them were those who still wanted to win me over. There was a steep cliff, and below was the churning and roaring magma. Under the eyes of everyone, I unleashing power like crazy. Roar. Actually, I hadn't been doing well, and I disdained anyone's favor. People have the tendency to flock to the strong, and zombies are the same. Plus, the virus and abilities originally came from the same source. Therefore, the stronger the ability, the more attractive it is to zombies. I stood on the edge of the cliff, my eyes blurred by the hot air blowing up from below. I jumped off, then a figure rushed over in a hurry and jumped down without hesitation. There was a huge crashing sound in the magma, and sparks flew everywhere. With the mental control of the Zombie King, the zombies all over the world seemed to be greatly summoned and rushed here like crazy one after another. Then they fell into the boiling magma one by one and disappeared without a trace, until the last zombie on Earth fell into the magma. Thus, the zombie crisis was completely over. 16. Extra story. The process of falling was much longer than I had imagined. Countless splashing magma and rock debris were flying in the air. I was just about to activate my ability when I was startled by the person who suddenly appeared in front of me. It was Adrian. Before taking action, I told him the whole plan of faking my death. The Zombie King desired abilities more than ordinary zombies. I even locked him up on purpose to prevent him from jumping down with me. I'm also a zombie. Sister, don't be soft-hearted. A sigh fell. An airtight metal ball wrapped the two of them tightly. Just as they were about to touch the surface of the magma, it stopped. Story 2, my zombie makeup video accidentally went viral. After work, the big boss cornered me against a wall. Honey, I've been looking for you. Below his collarbone was a rotting patch of corpse blemish. 01, when the zombie virus broke out, my husband was calmly grinding coffee. I was so frustrated, I almost smacked him. Did you secretly go out and bite people behind my back? Timothy looked hurt, his already purplish face turning even bluer. I thought you were sneaking around behind my back. The lockdown alarm blared in the distance, and the bloody scenes on TV were making my head buzz. Timothy brought over coffee and massaged my shoulders. What are you afraid of, honey? We're both zombies. They can't do anything to us. I chuckled on the surface, but my legs were trembling secretly. Timothy was definitely a zombie, but he didn't know that I was just pretending. 02. I started pretending to be a zombie 6 months ago. Back then, I was a pretty obscure streamer, so obscure that my colleagues couldn't understand why I had been with the company for 3 years. That day, my zombie makeup video accidentally went viral. Among the many private messages, I noticed a cute figure. Sis, are you a zombie too? I found this little brother quite interesting, mainly because the figure he flaunted on his homepage was just my type. Especially the volcano-shaped blue birthmark under his collarbone. It added a certain charm. Yes, I nodded frantically. Brother, I am too. I curled up the corners of my mouth, giving a devilish smile. I knew you were one too. Hurry up and reveal your true intentions for messaging me late at night. Do you want me to catch some rabbits for you to eat? Taking the innocent route. Sister has 2 white rabbits at home. I can give them to you. That's so like me. From then on, I and the brother chatted passionately. By the 3rd day, we were calling each other hubby and wifey. I am a cultured streamer who never flirts with fans, except the handsome ones. 03, then, I was reported by a colleague. I was so obscure. Why would you report me? I will never be happy again. After work, the big boss called me to his office. I thought, is firing me such a big deal that it troubles the boss? Looking at his sculpted profile, my DNA stirred fiercely. I had been admiring him from a distance for so many years, never expecting him to be so handsome up close. That was the first time Timothy and I talked face to face. He stared at me silently, his long legs crossed, lazily leaning against the floor-to-ceiling window. We stared at each other for 10 minutes. Boss, isn't that pose tiring? I realized something was off with his complexion. Boss, I just wanted to give the fans a little treat. What, you gave it to someone else too? His complexion seemed even more off. As I looked up trying to recall the brothers and little brothers from my career, Timothy had already approached me. He cornered me against the wall, his eyes suddenly bursting with the light of a puppy dog. Honey, I've been looking for you for a long time. Up close, I finally understood. The blue mark under his collarbone was a rotting patch of corpse blemish. He wasn't joking. He really was a zombie. I advise everyone, do not fall in love online. You never know what species you're connecting with through the internet. 04. Extreme hunger pulled me out of my memories. The lockdown in the neighborhood had lasted all day. Zombies were howling in packs downstairs, and I had eaten all the snacks hidden at home. My stomach was so empty it was frightening. Tears of regret slid from the corners of her eyes, while Timothy happily watched Resident Evil in the living room. When we got married, that dog of a man made such sweet promises to me. I've never met anyone with my constitution before. We two are the only zombies in the world. You and I are a match made in heaven, and now he pulls this stunt. I feel like murdering my husband. Baby, what's wrong? You look so down. Should I go out and grab a few people for you? Timothy said as he flexed his fingers, his eyes glowing with excitement. Let's not talk about that. We're supposed to be civilized zombies, I quickly interjected, crossing my arms. Although Timothy is a zombie, he has never bitten anyone. His diet consisted of live chickens and ducks, but we've run out of ducks and rabbits at home, he said with tearful eyes. You wouldn't consider eating our corgi, would you? Dum-dum, our corgi, was shivering under the sofa at that moment. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not eating that. If you're really hungry, you could take a bite out of me, Timothy offered, showing his arm with its well-defined muscles. However, at this moment, he had lost all appeal to me. Eat your head. I'm craving hot pot, barbecue, crayfish, fried chicken, pizza, spicy chicken feet. I couldn't wait any longer. While Timothy was asleep, I planned to sneak out to get some food supplies. As soon as I moved, the mattress bounced, and Timothy pulled me back, rubbing his face against mine in a drowsy state. Where's my wife going? Let's cuddle. Zombies have very sensitive senses and can detect many things that humans cannot. Just as I was trying to break free from his embrace, Timothy suddenly perked up and whispered, something's coming. His ears twitched, probably hearing something. Dum-Dum also crawled out from under the bed and started barking towards the window. I heard nothing and could only look in the direction of his gaze, the scenery outside the window. It was as calm as ever. Suddenly, a round shadow appeared on the window. It looked like a human head hanging upside down. I clutched Timothy's arm tightly. The head began to forcefully slam against the window. Bang, bang, bang. The window frame vibrated rhythmically. Are zombies coming over? I hid behind Timothy. I didn't expect them to arrive so quickly. Don't be scared, wife. It's not a zombie, Timothy reassured me, protecting me with one hand and reaching for the window handle with the other. Oh no, I trembled in fear. When he opened the window, a soccer ball appeared, swinging feebly in the air. I think this is a distress signal. There's a 6-year-old girl living upstairs. Her parents are always out and leave her locked at home. Could it be that the child upstairs ran out of food? Possibly. But we also have no food left, Timothy said, craning his neck. Little sister, we've run out of food too. Okay, came a soft, weak voice from upstairs. Wait, I can give her a little. I remembered some snacks hidden behind the wardrobe and pulled them out. I bought these because I was feeling peckish. This is all I have left. Sob, my wife is really kind and cute, Timothy said, kissing my face 3 times. Stop kissing, take it before I change my mind. Timothy took the snacks and looked out the window. We can just tie it to the soccer ball, right? Just as he reached out, a figure roared and grabbed his arm tightly. Our screams overlapped. Me. What's happening? A zombie got in. Him. My biceps hurt so much. My husband, a zombie, has just dragged another zombie into our home. What use do I have for this husband? The child who was just talking to us upstairs has now mutated. Her hair is disheveled, her eyes cloudy, and she's howling while staring at me. Timothy is desperately pulling on the hand of the small zombie, his body twisting like a pretzel. Honey, I didn't realize you were so flexible, I comment from 3 meters away. Watching the scene unfold, honey, do zombies fight each other too? Timothy, grimacing in pain, replies, I don't know, besides you, this is the first zombie I've encountered. Can you beat it? Can I not beat a child? As it turns out, he couldn't. Timothy is knocked to the ground, and the small zombie starts rushing towards me. I quickly dive into a wardrobe and firmly shut the door. Outside, the sounds of a scuffle erupt. After a while, it finally goes quiet outside. And I cautiously crack open the door. Honey, sob sob sob. I was braced for a scene of devastation, but to my relief, both the people and the dog are intact. Hey, Timothy makes a silly face at me. Don't be scared, honey. I immediately stop my sniffling and tears. He's so adorable. What happened? The little girl, who just a moment ago had grown fangs and claws, is now back to her cute, clueless self, playing with the dumb dog. Timothy sits down cross-legged beside me, stroking his chin. Just now, she bit my arm, and then she reverted back. I lift his arm to see, and indeed, there are 2 small dark blood holes. Could your blood be the antidote to the virus? I wonder. That would be strange indeed. Although Timothy is a zombie, he never goes berserk or bites people. It turns out his blood has a special effect. For a moment, my mind races with terrifying scenarios of Timothy being taken away by a biochemical research facility, kept for research. Subjected to endless tests and blood draws, until all his blood is drained. That would be great. Timothy laughs obliviously. I throw a chestnut at him. Grate my foot. Keep quiet and don't dare tell anyone. I quickly hand 2 lollipops to the girl upstairs. Sweetie, what's your name? Sister, I'm Lauren. Lauren, you mustn't tell anyone about what happened today. Okay, sister. With the bribe complete, I feel satisfied. Just as I'm feeling smug, there's a knock at the door. Who is it? Timothy goes to answer, and I squeeze his hand, signaling him to be careful. It's okay. He reassures me and goes to open the door. A man's voice comes from outside. Delivery, the neighborhood is locked down. Where did this delivery come from? I rush to the door to stop Timothy from opening it, but I'm a step too late. The person outside has already squeezed in, and he really is a delivery guy. He looks young and naive. What's the matter? Timothy asks gently. Worried the boy might be in trouble. I was delivering when I got locked out. I have nowhere to go. The boy's eyes dart around, fixating on the ground. We do have a spare room. Lauren runs out of the house, sees the boy, and immediately hides behind the dog. Before I can react, the boy's voice turns into a roar. He has mutated. WTF. I quickly spring into action. Timothy steps in front of me. This boy's attacks are even more ferocious than the girl's. I rush Lauren into another room and shut the door. I went to the storage room and grabbed a baseball bat, charging forward with it in hand. Despite the zombie's strong ability to recover, I managed to force it out the door. Timothy was forcefully pushing the zombie. It seemed like it didn't intend to bite, just continuously barking at the sky with its mouth wide open. Come on, bite me, bro. Just one bite. Are you dumb? Doesn't your arm hurt? While they were fighting, I seized the moment to open the security door, catching my glance. Timothy forcefully pushed the zombie out. Just as the door was about to close, suddenly, the zombie turned back into a boy, kneeling on the ground, sobbing, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was just too hungry. I quickly checked Timothy for any exposed bites. Nothing. This is a characteristic of this type of zombie virus. It only lasts for a few minutes. Otherwise, they're indistinguishable from normal people, the boy explained through his sobs. Day 1 of the apocalypse, I sat in the living room with 3 zombies, watching the cartoon about the wolf catching sheep. Now I understand. The infected only lose their sanity briefly and recover very quickly, Timothy said. Disappointed that his own blood wasn't the cure, I was relieved. I just timed it. About 20 minutes, the boy, Victor, felt very guilty about what had happened and shared everything he knew with us. If you transform more than 3 times, your body will severely degenerate and eventually, you'll die. So, you guys are in danger then. Actually, the transformation can be controlled by will. but I just came into contact with some blood in the corridor, so, that means blood makes you more prone to frenzy. He spoke as if he wasn't a zombie himself. Victor nodded. Falling silent, he didn't have many chances left. Timothy decided to implement a home quarantine policy. There were 2 more rooms in the house. Lauren and Victor could each stay in one, using the supplies delivered, until an official cure was developed. Timothy whispered in my ear, "Anyway, we're both zombies. We're not scared, right?" He had a proud little smile. "Haha, you think you're so superior." That night, we sat around the dining table eating boxed meals. Because I told Timothy to pretend we were a married couple, I finally had food to eat. I was enjoying my meal when Timothy quietly moved next to me. "Baby, look, don't we look like a family of 4? He propped his cheeks with his hands, staring happily at the opposite side. According to Victor, he also has a sister about the same age, so he gets along well with Lauren, creating a really warm scene. How could I possibly give birth to such a big son? I paused with my fork in hand. Afraid of exposing our identities, I hadn't told Timothy yet. We'll have one in the future anyway. Timothy playfully poked my arm, his gray-blue eyes cloudy and confused, as if he was drunk. Wait, he really was drunk. What did you drink? I was thirsty just now. Had a couple of sips of water. Water. It was clearly Chinese baijiu. That was supposed to be a delivery for someone else. Victor scratched his head. What happens if a zombie gets drunk, Timothy? Ranting about going out to fight zombies. Big brother, stop messing around. You're a zombie too. There are 2 zombies sitting in your house. I dragged Timothy into the room, pushed him onto the bed, and covered him with a blanket. Finally, he quieted down. Timothy wrapped himself up like a cocoon, rolling over to my side. "Wife, I'm here to serve you in bed." I punched him. "The apocalypse is upon us and you're still goofing around." He just laughed mischievously. Facing the window, he exclaimed, "Oh world, please don't end yet. I've just married and haven't enjoyed it enough yet." Does this man look like a cold and aloof CEO at all? Officially, the quarantine period is set for 2 weeks. During this time, no boxed meals can be delivered. In the residents group chat, someone is gathering volunteers to stock up on supplies at the supermarket in the courtyard. I was the first to volunteer, announcing, "My husband will go." Timothy looked at me with a plaintive expression. "Baby, aren't you worried I might get hurt?" I immediately clung to him. "Honey, stock up on more supplies so we can prosper. And remember, Lauren and Victor are still growing. If you really don't want to go, I will." "I'm not afraid of getting hurt." Timothy surrendered. "I can't win with you." Victor wanted to join as well. I escorted them to the entrance of the apartment block. The main door was tightly shut, the glass covered with panels that blocked the view from outside. It was then I realized. Apart from us, everyone else was extremely tense, wrapped in various protective gear, ready for anything. The building manager reminded us, currently, it's hard to tell who might be infected, so naturally, everyone is a bit more cautious. Among the volunteers, there were a few familiar faces, especially the man from the 3rd floor, who was particularly noticeable. He was wielding a large axe, his eyes red. I heard he had already killed several zombies. People say those zombies can revert back to normal. Doesn't that mean he's committing murder? That's terrifying. I patted Timothy's back, reminding him to stay safe and not to reveal his identity. The building manager opened the glass door. Only one last rolling door separated us from the outside world. From our current view, the courtyard was empty, no zombies in sight. Suddenly, I felt uneasy. "No, I have to go with you." I grasped Timothy's hand tightly. "Are you worried about me, wife?" "I'm afraid you won't pick the snacks I like." Yesterday, the zombies seen around the building had now vanished. Probably they had returned to their normal state and gone home. The supermarket was just inside the quarantine zone, near the community entrance. It took only 5 minutes to walk there. We actually made it there safely. As soon as we entered the supermarket, our group scattered in a flurry. At this point, whoever was slow would end up with nothing. Grab more drinking water first. I kicked a shopping cart to Victor and then dashed to the instant and frozen food section. I filled the cart with large packs of instant noodles and ready-to-eat hot pots, batteries, lighters, flashlights. The supermarket owner was nowhere to be found, so we would have to pay him later. I moved as fast as lightning, while Timothy was calm as a chicken. "Wife, this packaging is so pretty." "Wife, do you need?" Indeed, my worries were not unfounded. My shopping cart was stacked like a mountain. And so was Victor's. I patted Victor on the shoulder, proud. You are such a good boy, much more useful than your dad. Nothing. We pushed our carts to the supermarket entrance and turned back to check on the safety of the others. In total, 7 people came out last. Besides us 3, there were the man with the axe, a young man, and a couple. The man with the axe had grabbed a lot of canned water and compressed biscuits. The couple didn't have much food. They came from the direction of the pharmacy section. The young man seemed inactive. Let's not worry about him. We should go first. The girl in the couple seemed quite scared. Her boyfriend pulled her towards the exit. I grew nervous, ready to run at any moment. Brother, are you still there? Timothy leaned forward to check. The shelves were empty. From the shadows of the gaps, a squeak sound was heard. I had a bad premonition. Run. In the darkness, a fierce roar exploded. Rows of shelves toppled over like dominoes, mixed with the young man's screams. In the shadows, there were at least a dozen murky figures. Timothy quickly pushed me out by the shoulder and then flung the shopping cart out as well. He patted my calf. Honey, run. I staggered a few steps, feeling the shadows around me blur into obscurity. Once we found a place to hide, we looked back only to find Timothy and Victor had disappeared into the swarm of zombies. 17, Timothy, Victor. I called their names softly. The girl in the couple quickly pulled at me. Don't shout, it'll provoke them. The guy leaned in. These are full-blown zombies. They've lost all humanity and are very aggressive. They seem to know a lot about zombies. Seeing my stunned expression, they introduced each other. This is William, a biologist, my husband, and this is Mila, a biochemist, my wife. They smiled at each other, their eyes almost sparkling with sweetness. These cases started appearing a month ago. We were originally doing research in the university lab, and went home to get some things when our neighborhood was quarantined, Mila said, patting my shoulder. Don't worry. Those who are just infected usually aren't attacked by full-blown zombies. William also gave me a knowing look. It turned out they had figured it out already. They should all be able to come back, muttered William. Outside, some of the not fully transformed infected turned back into humans and ran away. The others, losing their targets, halted in their tracks. They can't get through. The voice of Axe's brother eerily emerged from behind. Before any of us could react, a grenade, thrown from his hand, exploded. You son of a, 18. The explosion stunned us momentarily. In the firelight, the zombies that were idly wandering just moments ago were now groaning in pain. Fortunately, the explosion was in an open space and didn't damage the walls of the buildings. Ha ha ha, I knew it. Only fire can deal with these creatures. Axe's brother laughed maniacally. My husband just helped you close the door. Did you lose your conscience to a dog, if it weren't for the 2 holding me back? I really would have fought him to the death. They've been bitten. They're monsters now. They're just infected. Sick. You're the real monster, little girl. Surviving is what's most important. Axe's brother gave a cold laugh and ran out. Why are there always these types of characters in post-apocalyptic survival? Husband, sob. Victor, sob. William and Mila dragged me back to the entrance of the apartment building. With 2 carts of supplies, Axe's brother was already out of sight. I looked at the empty yard, feeling utterly despondent. Wasn't this supposed to be a Lauren zombie story? Where's my husband? Where is he? Honey, Timothy's teasing voice rang out. Am I hallucinating from grief? I'm back. No, it really was him. 19. In the distance, Timothy and Victor rode a small electric scooter out of the flames and stopped right beside us. I was so happy I was at a loss for words. Looking at Timothy, then at Victor, both were unharmed. Sister. My delivery scooter was parked right outside. Isn't it faster to ride this? Victor, you did great. Victor scratched his head, smiling naively. Everyone's back. That's great. Let's go inside. The young couple was also very happy. But the door wouldn't open. Wait. The building manager cautiously pressed against the door lock. None of you were bitten, right? Our steps halted momentarily. I glanced nervously at the young couple, though they seemed more relaxed than I felt. Mila squinted with a smile. How could that be? Do we look like we've been bitten? The building manager trusted her more and lowered his guard. At that moment, the building manager's wife stepped forward. If you want to come in, you'll have to share some of your stuff with us. Why should we share with you when we risked our lives to get these? Mila was a bit annoyed. We've been guarding the gate for you. The manager's wife retorted confidently. Fine, let's share then. We compromised. And finally, the gate was opened. After sharing some supplies with the building manager, we hurried upstairs. As soon as we entered our home, Lauren and our dog rushed up to greet us. Seeing their pure and joyful faces, I burst into tears. I won't go out again before the lockdown is lifted, and if I do, I'm a dog, I declared as I went back inside. I clung tightly to Timothy's chest. I was so scared. Honey, I thought I was going to inherit everything from you, I sobbed. Honey, why do I feel like you're almost happy about it? How could I be happy? I cried. Why did you guys fall so far behind? I bought some more stuff. Timothy grinned proudly. He brought over a plastic bag and laid out its contents on the table like treasures. Although we don't need these now. Who knows how long the lockdown will last? I had to prepare for my wife. The bag was full of things for me. Sanitary pads, heat packs, brown sugar, and goji berries. I was moved to tears. But then I saw the last item, a small blue box. Timothy, well done, and it's even strawberry flavored. The supplies we gathered were enough to sustain 4 people and 1 dog for 2 months. Going out was no longer an option. We could somehow muddle through. Occasionally, families with scarce supplies would ask us for help, and we'd share some with them. However, someone snitched on us. We were kicked out of the homeowners group chat. Owner of 1201, have some shame, will you? You've emptied the supermarket. Did you even pay? The supermarket is a communal resource of the residents. Monopolizing it isn't right. I heard that water and electricity might be cut off in a few days. Are they trying to exhaust everyone to death? So eventually only they will remain in this building. This couple has always been selfish, causing divisions at such a critical time. Do you even know me? After a whole day of cyberbullying, someone came knocking on our door. Open up, open up. Don't hide inside silently, I know you're home. The knocking was so intense it scared Lauren into tears. I looked through the peephole and saw a crowd outside, led by the building manager and his wife, with Axeman standing in the corner. These bastards. I was about to lose my temper, but Timothy stopped me. He nodded at me, signaling that he would handle it. There's nothing to discuss, please go back. We risked our lives for these supplies, and we have 2 kids to feed. There are still some items in the supermarket, you can go get them yourselves if you want. His calm voice quieted the noise outside. We're not here for supplies, the building manager spoke softly. We heard someone in your family has mutated. His wife pushed him aside, looking fierce. Several residents reported being bitten on this floor. I suspect you're hiding the disease without reporting it. It's impossible. If someone were bitten, they wouldn't dare to come here so openly. There's nothing of the sort. Please go back. For everyone's safety, it's best we avoid contact. I tried to keep my tone calm. Are you feeling guilty? The building manager's wife raised her voice. You came back so late from that outing. Something must have happened. We absolutely won't jeopardize your safety. Please leave. I didn't want to argue with her anymore. I forcefully slammed the door and sat back down on the sofa with Timothy. Lauren and Victor looked up at me. It's okay, Lauren and Victor, keep watching TV. Peppa Pig resumed on the TV. There was no longer any noise outside. Honey, something feels off, Timothy said uneasily. I feel it too. They didn't disappoint us. After a while, red fresh blood began to seep under the door. 23. Victor and Lauren's faces turned pale instantly. Hold on, Lauren. I held Lauren tightly, covering her eyes and nose, and carried her back to the room. Victor quickly scurried back to his room too. He shut the door heavily. It's okay, Lauren, everything's going to be okay. I patted Lauren's back to help her calm down. Sis, I want some candy. Her little face was sweaty, her lips pale. Okay, I still have 2 pieces of chocolate. They're all yours, sis. I really miss Mom and Dad. Alright, once the lockdown is lifted, we can see Mom and Dad, but like this, will they still love me? Of course, Lauren, you're just sick. You'll get better. Lauren's small body gradually calmed down in my arms. The fit stopped, but on the other end, Victor's room emitted a low rumbling growl. He was banging on the room door. Thud, thud. He had locked the door when he entered. 24. Outside, Timothy was pounding on the door forcefully. His voice was hoarse, restrained yet dangerous. Get the hell out of here now. I had never seen him this angry before. Timothy, I grabbed his hand, only then noticing his eyes were red. Honey, they've gone too far. He rubbed my hair. Let's not bother with others from now on. Just us. I can't bear to see you in trouble. Okay, but they seemed unwilling to leave us alone. We won't stop bleeding at your doorstep until you hand over the zombie. An axe smashed against the door, making a loud sizzle. What do you really want? I shouted. My voice exhausted. There was silence outside for a while. Then they pushed the building manager out. He was timid and cowardly. The zombie goes down to fetch supplies. Just as I thought, it's all for supplies. So, you just need the supplies. Yes, I'll go F*******. Timothy stopped my curse gently, saying, I'll go, first thing tomorrow morning. 25. At night, Lauren was too scared to sleep alone. So she ran into our room. I held her and soothed her to sleep. Victor's incessant mumbling came from next door. Let's keep Victor. Maybe there will be a cure in the future. Timothy was very quiet today. Scared. No. He turned to embrace me. Allison, I want to confess something to you. It had been a long time since he called me by my name. What? I've bitten someone before. Timothy's gaze shifted away from me, casting to a corner of the room. It was a girl. He panicked. But don't worry, I just bit her arm, didn't touch anywhere else. Okay, I got it, it's all right. I hugged him back, patting his head. I actually knew about it long ago, because the person Timothy bit was me, and he was lying. He was both kissing and hugging me, biting me not just once but twice. I discovered Timothy's zombie identity earlier than he might have imagined. At that time, I had only been with the company for a year. I held a pure admiration for the big boss. I finally got a chance to travel with his team on a business trip. But I was assigned to do odd jobs and didn't even get to meet him. However, in the dead of night, I received a call from Timothy, his heavy breathing coming through the receiver. Come to my room. Could this be my lucky break? Although I just wanted to observe him from a distance, I couldn't resist such a direct invitation. I didn't expect that upon entering, I would see his blood-covered corpse. It was definitely a corpse. I checked. There was no breathing. A metal rod protruding from the bathroom had pierced below his collarbone, causing a fatal, volcano-shaped wound. He must have faced an emergency and randomly dialed my number. My pupils dilated in shock as I tried to crawl away. I hadn't crawled far when Timothy suddenly opened his eyes. He lunged at me. I blocked my neck with my arm, which he bit down on tightly. I closed my eyes. That's it. I thought I was done for. A mild pain spread through my arm. A hot, soft sensation enveloped me. I sneakily opened my eyes. Why was he biting me and then blowing into my ear? I timidly asked, is this an April Fool's joke? But there was no response. Timothy had fainted. The next day when I saw him again, Timothy acted as if nothing had happened. There was not a trace of blood on his clothes or in his room. I always thought that everything that day was just a dream, until I saw a scar identical to mine. The bite from Timothy never fully healed. I tattooed a small rabbit over it. Now, the rabbit was being held in Timothy's embrace. He was asleep, outside, the moon hung brightly, everything was peaceful and beautiful. Dare the world try to destroy this. Tomorrow, we both must live. I still have to create a family of 4 with Timothy, and 4 generations living together. The next morning, the young couple from before contacted me. It turns out, a few days ago someone irresponsibly left the building entrance open. Now everything below the 4th floor was overrun. There were masses of zombies below, but only a security door held them back. No wonder no one dared to go out for supplies, leaving us to bear the brunt. William had once studied the blueprints of the underground parking garage and showed us a safe route. Timothy didn't want me to go. I clung to him, refusing to let go. Honey, stop it. Wife, honey. I squeezed out a couple of tears. Humph. Could Timothy really resist this? As it turned out, he could. Timothy tied me up and left me in the room. Stay here, wait for my return. He kissed my forehead. Don't worry, I can't bear to die. I had a feeling that Timothy needed me, so I freed myself from the blankets and quietly followed him. The stairwell was eerily quiet. I could only hear my own breathing. I dared not take the elevator, for the small space would leave no escape in case of a fight. Descending to the 5th floor, suddenly a scream came from below. Before I could flee, 2 indistinguishable figures ran up. It was a zombie gnawing on a man's shoulder. I kept backing away. Are you okay? The bitten man, with tears in his eyes, replied. Do I look okay to you? Did you see a tall, handsome man go by? You mean the one dressed in a gray tracksuit, with a stern, ascetic look? Yes, he left with a man and a woman. The man, distracted by the zombie on his shoulder, swayed around. You should head downstairs. The door's open and it's clean. Timothy had left with a man and a woman. It must have been William and Mila, the married couple. Thanks. I gripped the baseball bat in my hand. Do you need my help hitting her? The man waved his hand with a smile. No need. She's my wife. The long-haired zombie looked up at me, flashing a bloody grin. May you have children soon. I moved past them and continued running downstairs. The man was right. The entire fourth floor was spotless. Everything felt deliberately cleaned up. I went down to the sub-level. The elevator was broken and stopped here, leaving a large pool of blood inside. But there was no sign of Timothy. A bad feeling suddenly came over me. Timothy, Timothy. Ignoring the risk of attracting zombies, I started calling out his name. Then, out of nowhere, some bastard knocked me out from behind. When I opened my eyes again, I was dazzled by the bright white around me. I found myself lying on a hospital bed. You're awake. Mila's voice came from behind me. What have you done to me? Where have you hidden Timothy? I tried to move but felt terribly uncomfortable. Mila ignored my question, coldly reciting my personal information. Sophia, 28 years old. A broadcaster by profession, married, husband's name Timothy. Infected with the virus about 2 years ago, no symptoms appeared. Initially assessed as an antibody carrier, Mila, in a lab coat, was followed by several others. Her confident smile reminded me of the time she helped us cover up. I suddenly realized something. Mila leaned down, whispering in my ear. I noticed that day. Your husband is a special kind of zombie. We originally just wanted to capture him. But you came right to us. Very good. You are what we were actually looking for. Was it you who incited them to cause trouble, forcing us out? I thought you were the good guys. We are the good guys. Indeed, we've been looking for a cure, and now, we might have just found it. Me, I'm the cure. Just my luck, constant tests, draining my blood. Can I see Timothy one last time? I'm afraid that's not possible. Mila's smile twisted. He's already been sent to the zombie isolation area. He must have turned into a monster by now. I wanted to save my husband and suddenly felt a surge of energy. I jumped up with a click-click sound, but they had guns. I lay down again. Damn, Mila pressed down on my head. I suggest you don't struggle needlessly. If you cooperate with us, your husband might suffer less. She turned on the TV on the wall. It showed surveillance footage of a large factory. The factory was crammed with disfigured zombies. At least a few thousand. Among the crowd of zombies, I caught sight of Timothy. He stood frozen among them, continuously nodding towards the camera. Actually, the virus began spreading secretly 2 years ago, and all the infected have been isolated here. Most of the samples were used for our research. These are what remain. So many. Can I really make that much medicine alone? Ha ha ha. You don't need to save everyone. Just saving a part of the population is enough. A part of the population. Which people? The rich, the powerful, also, the smart ones. Mila stepped aside, revealing the hospital bed behind her. On the bed lay William, deep in slumber. Mila swung her knife, slashing forcefully across his shoulder. Blood gushed out and stained the bed. In an instant, the wound healed. Has William been infected? Blood stained Mila's fingers. She touched William's face, a manic smile spreading across her face. He'll get better. To her, the lives of millions didn't compare to the life of her loved one. The same went for me, so I said, I can cooperate with you. Can you let my husband go? Mila relaxed a bit. Humph, he's a zombie. He'd be killed if he went outside. Timothy has a six-pack. He won't be taken down that easily. He's also very wealthy, and he's the male protagonist. What are you trying to say? I casually crossed my legs, looking composed. Nothing, just a reminder. This is a zombie story by Lauren. Before Mila could react, the window exploded. A horde of zombies, or rather, indestructible strong men, stormed in. I quickly dove under the bed. Gunshots rang out. The team stood unflinching. The armed guards in the room ran out of ammunition and stood in shock. Mila was pinned down by several men, lying on the floor, not daring to move. After the smoke from the gunpowder cleared, a row of gray shadows stood erect. Then, I heard the voice I had longed for. Wife. The smoke cleared. Timothy stood behind the wall, legs crossed. Leaning against the window frame, he said, I've been looking for you for a long time. Being captured by Mila was actually part of Timothy's plan. That day, Brother Axe had tipped him off. revealing that it was Mila and her group who had betrayed us, so he decided to go out and investigate. He initially just wanted to teach them a lesson to ensure our safety, but he accidentally uncovered their conspiracy hiding here. Timothy wanted to gather complete evidence before returning. My following him was an unexpected variable, but also anticipated, thus. He teamed up with a few not fully mutated infected and launched a counterattack. At first, I didn't understand what was happening, until Timothy gave me a nodding signal. He said he'd handle everything. Even so, I still had many questions. Weren't you just crazily nodding over there, looking not so smart? How did you get here so quickly? Cough. What kind of company do I run? I'm good at making fake videos. Oh, and how could Brother Axe possibly tip you off to him? His own life is the most important, so I told him what? My wife is a cure, you can take a bite, deserves a smack. But he knew I was the cure. I've known for a while, Timothy said mysteriously. Why are you still? Just kidding, hee, honey, do you think I love you because we are the same species? I really thought so. Without that video, we would never have crossed paths. Honey, that's not it. He suddenly hugged me tightly. I'm truly mesmerized by your charm. No, trapped by affection, that's more like it. Honey, I've liked you since a long time ago. I was the first fan of your live streams. Seeing you progress little by little made me happier than anyone else. I love how you never give up. I love how timid yet brave you are when you sneak glances at me. I love your witty banter, your daydreams. I love you. I can't hold back anymore. I need to kiss this man. And just like that, I kissed him. Smooch. Timothy froze for a moment. Staring at me, his warm fingers climbed up to my neck. His lips swiftly and fiercely hit the target, stealing my breath away. Softly, murmurs of gurgle gurgle echoed around. How lovely. I should be under the car, not here. I miss my wife. Shall we go? I had never thought before. The rolling sands of the abandoned factory and the kisses seemed so fitting. Breathless, I leaned on Timothy's shoulder to rest. Timothy, why did you take such a risk to come here? Let me think. I looked up at him earnestly, pondering. If they are only seen as monsters, and only a few survive, how far can the world be from destruction? If the world is coming to an end, how can we grow old together? So, for you, I want to save the whole world. Something melted inside my heart. I squeezed his hand tightly. Me too, for you, I want to save the whole world. After settling Lauren, Victor and the clumsy one at home, I prepared to go to the relevant department to expose myself as an antibody carrier. Timothy, holding my hand, nagged, Honey, do you really want to go? Going, aren't you afraid they'll drain your blood? Isn't it you who said about saving the world? Good wife, I support you. We finally reached our destination after much hardship. It turned out to be just across from our neighborhood. Only then did we discover that there were already a bunch of antibody carriers here. Researchers were working day and night to find a specific cure. Timothy and I moved into the live specimen building of the Key Laboratory. As a typical example of recovery, Timothy was asked to write a self-report detailing the process of infection, symptoms, and recovery. Thinking back to the day of infection, I felt a bit embarrassed. You must have been quite confused then. Should I help you write it? He gestured grandly. No need. Later, his self-report spread widely throughout the district. The content was, well, rather explicit. Timothy was overjoyed. Honey, this is sacrificing for the world. 5 days later, a traditional Chinese medicine appeared that could alleviate madness. 2 weeks later, a vaccine was also developed. 6 months later, a specific drug finally arrived. More and more people, including me and Timothy, returned to their families. Damaged buildings were repaired. Those who took advantage of the chaos were judged. A year later, the world slowly returned to its normal functioning. I hugged Timothy, enjoying the breeze, both body and mind delighted. Look, the world hasn't ended yet. All right, next up, growing old together. Timothy pulled me onto his lap. And a family of 4, with 4 generations under one roof. The end. Wedding side story. Hello everyone, I'm Lauren, the child from another family. I'm so happy. My illness has been cured, and I can finally go to elementary school. Mom and Dad came home too, and they said they'll spend more time with me from now on. Upstairs, big brother Timothy and big sister Sophia are planning to have a proper wedding ceremony. They asked me to be the flower girl, and big brother Victor to be the best man, although Victor's illness is also cured. He has a large wound that still bleeds often, so he's always worried about not being able to find a girlfriend. Big sister Sophia told him not to worry, she's found several beautiful ladies to be bridesmaids. Ah, I hope that silly Victor finds the bitterness of love soon. On the day of the wedding, I arrived at brother and sister's house early in the morning. Strangely, big brother Timothy was standing at the door with a tense face. I thought he was just nervous, but inside. Big sister also had a serious expression. Her beautiful wedding dress was tossed aside, stained with blood at the front. Their expressions reminded me of myself when I scored 30 on a test, and how my mom looked when she saw my report card. Big sister with hands on her hips. Do you realize what you did wrong? Big brother with a look of grievance. I know I did wrong, honey. I told you not to hug me. Your wound could bleed onto the wedding dress, and it would be awful, but honey, you were too beautiful. I couldn't help myself. So what do we do now? Big brother Timothy was at a loss for words and continued to be punished by standing. I raised my hand. How about, dye it all red? I'm such a clever little devil. And then, big sister got married in that red wedding dress. She was so beautiful, prettier than any bride I've ever seen. Because big brother was alternately laughing so hard his mouth stretched to his ears and then crying his eyes out. I won't compliment him too much. Many uncles and aunts who had been sick before also came to the wedding. They said that big brother Timothy and big sister Sophia saved their lives. I know they saved mine too, so I also left them a little blessing. I heard from the adults that kids jumping on the newlyweds' bed is a magical way to create babies, so I invited the whole class of kids to come. I don't know if it will be too much for big sister, but big brother Timothy seemed really happy, I think. I'll have little nieces or nephews very soon.